There's the gavel. I would like to call this regular meeting of the Coralville City Council to order. It is August 26th, 2025. Could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Knutson? Here. Vogelsang?
Here.
Wynn? Peterson?
Here.
Goodrich?
Here. All council members except Wynn are present, and she will be joining us as soon as she can get here. She's at another event right now. So we have all council members except Wynn, and we also have the mayor, the city clerk, the city attorney, the city administrator, and several other staff in the audience. So I would entertain a motion to amend the agenda, and the amendment that I am proposing is to move the review and discussion of the license plate reader policy further down on the agenda to whenever Councilmember Wynn is able to join us. And we'll just continue after the community comment with the rest of the agenda items. Could I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vogelsang, seconded by Knutson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The amended agenda is approved. Okay, now on to the next item, which is community comment. So I mentioned this before, maybe some of you were able to join us or were maybe in the room, but I am going to extend the community comment period this evening. And one of the things I said as I addressed the crowd at the beginning of the or before the meeting is that I'm not usually very picky about timing, but because we have so many folks that want to speak to us tonight, I am going to be timing you, and I better get my phone set up, but I am going to be keeping a timer just down here on my phone. I want everybody to keep their remarks to around 2 minutes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a hand signal when you have 30 seconds left, and then I'll give you a hand signal when you are out of time. Okay, so do kind of keep an eye on me as I am timing those comments, because I want to make sure we can hear from as many people as possible. All right, and before we start hearing from the public, I have a couple of things that I want to say. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here tonight, because we've got a pretty significant issue that we're all here to discuss. And I know that this has been really challenging and really hard, and I have to tell you, this is probably one of the most challenging situations that I have faced as a city council person and as the mayor. And I know that there has been a lot of fear that is valid, a lot of frustration that is valid too. I've been frustrated. I know a lot of people have. I've been hearing from a lot of folks lately, and I get that. I really do. But here's the thing, it's good that our community is engaging in these hard conversations. And it is painful, but it's necessary. And I know that can sound a little bit like a cliche. I don't mean it to. And the fact of the matter is that I have been thinking a lot about the moment that we are in right now, as a community, but also just as a collective. And I got to tell you that, one of the reasons I think that we are here, not the only reason, I think it's one of the reasons, but I think one of the reasons that we are in this moment of struggle right now is because it's become very hard to talk to each other, especially when there's disagreement. It is not easy to be in disagreement. It is not easy to have hard conversations. But I think it's really important, and it's really important to me that we have a good conversation here tonight. This has been messy, and I don't like that. A lot of people that know me know that I'm a full steam ahead kind of person. I don't like mess. I don't like a lot of drama. But it's been messy. And hard stuff is messy. Hard stuff is messy. And I'm actually grateful. You know, I've had a lot of moments where I've been really, stressed and frustrated, like I said, but I've also had moments of gratitude, because the fact of the matter is, good faith, productive public discourse is essential for a healthy community. It is essential for a healthy democracy. And, my hope throughout this entire situation, that all of these conversations that I've been having, is that I've been thinking a lot about the fact that I really want to be an example. I want to be an example of, why public discourse, productive, good faith public discourse is effective. I want to be an example. I want us all to be an example of why it is important to save public discourse. Because let's face it, that's the moment that we're in right now. We're seeing all kinds of attacks to undermine public institutions, pit us against each other, and not have these difficult and necessary conversations. So before we start our public comment tonight, and as we continue to engage with each other on this issue, I want to encourage everybody to listen to each other respectfully, and that's not directed at any one person or any one group. That is for everyone in this entire room. Listen to each other, even when there is disagreement, because there's going to be disagreement. There's a lot of really strong feelings on this issue. And I think it's important for us to remember that even though we might have different backgrounds, we might have different value systems, we obviously don't agree on everything. The fact of the matter is that we are all part of the same community. And even if we don't like each other always, or we don't agree with each other always, we need each other. We need each other. And that is something that I think we really need to think about if we are going to rise to the moment that we're in, if we're going to get through this moment that we're in, that we all need each other, and that this right here, this is what community looks like. And I thank you all for being here to share your thoughts with us tonight. So let's do it. Let's set a good example, and let's show everybody that public discourse is important, that it's worth saving, and that it can be done in an effective and productive way. All right? Okay. So with that, we will start the public comment. Let me get my phone queued up so I can get the timer going. That is not my phone. Okay. All right. Sorry. That's okay. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. Okay. Your 2 minutes is starting now.
Good evening. My name is Kent Kristen. I live in the city of Coralville. I work for the Cedar Rapids Police Department as a crime intelligence analyst, a position I've held since late 2018. I want to start by saying that the points and opinions expressed in this statement are my own, do not reflect the policies, opinions, or views of the Cedar Rapids Police Department, the City of Cedar Rapids, or any of their components. I stand before you today as a resident of the City of Coralville since 2019 to advocate for implementing the Flock Safety automated license plate readers in the city. While I realize that anecdotes do not constitute data, stringing together enough of them does. In the few months we've had the cameras in Cedar Rapids, I have personally witnessed the recovery of a dementia sufferer who drove 2 counties away from his home and was later recovered because of the cameras, as well as the recovery of a child who was taken out of state by a caretaker against their parents' wishes. I've seen investigators use the cameras to identify suspects who have defrauded elderly residents of the city of Cedar Rapids, as well as several other cities across several states on both sides of the Mississippi River. You may have heard about the barricaded suspect Cedar Rapids police officers dealt with in the apartment building behind the department a few months ago. The suspect in that incident was both dangerous and unstable and had warrants for his arrest. We determined the car he used to leave the other town was in Cedar Rapids because of the flock cameras. I was able to put out a bulletin to alert our officers for their safety and the safety of the community in case they engaged this subject while he was out and about. We later pieced together the information that ultimately led to his capture. You may have also heard about a robbery suspect from Iowa City who committed 2 bank robberies in Cedar Rapids last year before we implemented the cameras. We found his vehicle purely by chance because he happened to pass another car with a different system on board. If we had had the flock readers at the time, it's likely we would have found him earlier in the investigation, prevented any future crimes from him at an earlier point in his activities. The readers have been extremely useful to the department, enabling us to keep the community safe by identifying potential warrant subjects, using them to determine locations of vehicles associated with crimes to find suspects, and identifying stolen vehicles to aid in recovering them for their victims. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. And let's reset. Okay.
Can you clarify if we go in order, or do we just step up after, if we've signed
You know
up,
what? I
we
think
step
maybe
up?
we should go in order. Is that okay with everybody? Yes. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Then perhaps the person who finishes should read the name of the next person.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I lost this that I need, and so I'm going to have to find that before
Okay.
I can speak. So let's see, the next person up here, Ralph Steffens?
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Ralph Stevens, a resident of Coralville on Holiday Road for 20 years. I'm here to address the issue of flock license plate readers. Please do not purchase or allow these cameras to be installed on public streets. It's one thing if they're in private parking lots, that's their business. On public streets, I'm protesting against that. To me, this is a solution to a non-existent problem. The rampant crime, what rampant crime do we have terrorizing residents that these cameras will prevent? How many Coralville residents have come to you as a council or personally requesting, begging, demanding these cameras? Is the data really erased after 30 days? It's hard to completely erase data these days. And who will have access to that data? Are there regulations in place about how it can be used? What's the council's role in protecting the citizens' privacy if these unnecessary cameras are bought, despite the many concerns raised here tonight? Who would one sue if their rights to privacy is violated? Has the city attorney given you an opinion on that? I don't think there's a need for these cameras. I happen to know that satellites monitor and record everything that moves in this country. I know this as I used to work in Kansas City with a former Kansas City police official who was retired but still involved with the force. He told me that once a councilman's home was robbed, the police went to the satellite videos, tracked the criminal's van from the councilman's home to where the van was, and the criminal was arrested within an hour of the crime. So let's get set up with that system instead of building our own citizen surveilling network. You tell where the cameras will be placed, criminals will just avoid those routes. Meanwhile, you're building a travel profile on honest citizens. For what? Will 2 cameras be enough? Where will this end? I have an alternative besides the national satellite system. LL Pelling sells coal patch for about $107 a ton. You could buy 11 or more loads, pave the streets, and make this a much safer and pleasant place than flock cameras.
Thank you. And who's the
Pat-
next person?
Oh, she's ready, okay.
I got my
Marge is
information
ready.
Get it figured out? Okay.
It was hiding in front of my face. Oops. Okay. My name's Mary McCann. Whoops, can you hear me okay? Yes. This is speed reading time. My name is Mary McCann. I live and vote in Iowa City, but much of my life is spent in Coralville. As you know, for 2 years, I've collected monthly JECC law enforcement data for 5 Johnson County jurisdictions, including Coralville. If there's community trouble that's in my lane, I listen, ask questions, study, and research before taking a public stand. When flock became a concern, I attended the ACLU presentation, listened to people in attendance, spoke with law enforcement, and asked how flock assisted their operations. I also reached out around the county to hear diverse voices. I learned that North Liberty's flock system has helped locate stolen vehicles, motor vehicle hit and runs, welfare checks, OWI investigations, the location of suicidal and missing people, to name just a few of what has become a normal community problem. As a white person, I'm not a target in Iowa. I'm electronically visible 24/7 through my cell phone, Google, a Garmin pedometer, State Farm's safe driving app, public Wi-Fi, the bus transit app, and through every online purchase. I've made peace with electronic tracking and remain connected. 20 years ago, it was early Chicago camera surveillance that saved my life. I lived in Bronzeville on South King Drive, tutoring teens and defending them from gang life. When I became a problem for the disciples, I was beaten and left unconscious a few blocks from my home. It was frigid, so I crawled under the bushes and passed out. A surveillance camera caught my foot moving, allowing a police officer and teen to find me. I accept the flock system, but hope all of you will remain involved.
Oops, sorry. That's your time, thank you. Who's next, Mary?
Let's see, Pat Bowen?
Yes. All right. Thank you. All right.
Hi, my name is Pat Bowen, and I am not a resident of Coralville. I live in Iowa City. However, I want to speak about this proposal about manual automatic license readers with flock. This decision will not just affect the people of Coralville, but people from all over this community, Iowa City, North Liberty, Cedar Rapids, all the people that travel to this community for football and basketball games and appointments at the hospital will be caught on these cameras and their privacy. Unbeknownst to them, their privacy is being taken away. So I just feel uncomfortable coming into a city that has more or less decided that spending money on these cameras is more important than people's privacy. What is going to happen to the data that is collected? That is, I don't even know if that's even been offered as an explanation. So if they are put in, I might have to stop my business in Coralville. The mall, Costco, restaurants, the Iowa River Landing area. I just don't know that I would want to feel comfortable driving over here. I urge you to end this contract with flock safety cameras, and I'm glad that you're having some public comment, but from my understanding, what I've learned is that there hasn't been a whole lot of discussion until it was almost a done deal. So that's all I really have to say, I guess, but please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Dolsall.
Good evening. My name's Steve Dolezal. I'm a resident of Coralville, 1508 Brown Deer Road. I'm here tonight to speak to you in support of the flock camera system. I didn't realize it was such a big issue, I guess, and recently had a conversation with a couple of my neighbors in my neighborhood who had asked me, because of my previous experience in law enforcement, what my feeling was about flock, because they didn't understand why it was such a big issue. So I dug into it a little bit more. One, I knew about flock, but I didn't know really what Coralville's plans were, and the idea that we're talking about 6 cameras and 3 arterial ways didn't seem like a whole lot. And my neighbors also didn't understand why it was a big deal, and we're glad to hear that I was supportive of it, as they were too, and didn't just understand that it's a tool in the toolbox for law enforcement to help us, help them solve crimes, to help missing persons, missing children, things like that. The important thing that we need to recognize is that placing policies and procedures in place, that if the concern is what we're going to use it for, then we work with the chief, the council works with the chief to say, hey, we want the policy and procedure to read this or to work with this. And we really recognize that it's a living, breathing, moving document. And as things change or we realize that something isn't working or it is working or we need to expand it, then we can rewrite that policy. And we've got somebody that we can hold accountable. Thanks for your time. Sorry if I went over.
You didn't go over. You have.
Oh, I saw you wave at
23
me.
seconds left.
Well, I'm in support of it. I hope all of you recognize the value of it. I come into this building and there's cameras in the building. There's policies and procedures for those. I see people videoing us, recording us. That's going on. We're not violating any constitutional things. When we're in public, the right of privacy is gone. You come to my house, you're going to be on Ring cameras. I'm over my time now, but I used all of
now.
it.
Yes, now
Thank
you
you.
are done.
Supportive of it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Who's next, Steve? Who's next on the list?
Dan
Okay.
Wohlers.
All right.
And somebody can have my seat.
Members of the council, thank you for letting me speak to you this evening. I come in opposition to the flock LPR cameras. This discussion about flock LPR cameras is not just about technology, it's about what kind of community we want to live in. Do we want to live in a town where the government tracks and stores information on daily movements of ordinary people? Across the country, lawsuits are challenging Flock's license plate reader systems as unconstitutional, arguing that they violate the Fourth Amendment and a reasonable expectation of privacy. A license plate is tied directly to a name and address. It is personal information. When cameras track your plate at multiple locations, they are tracking you, where you work, where you worship, who you visit, even your medical appointments. These things all paint a very detailed picture of your life. Flock is a private company. It's not accountable through open record laws or oversight by elected officials. We have no transparency into its algorithms, error rates, or data practices. Flock has refused independent security testing of its devices, leaving us with no real assurance about accuracy or safety. Earlier this year, Flock announced new tools, including one that tracks vehicles frequently seen together and another that allows multiple location searches. These tools don't just investigate crime, they generate suspicion by using artificial intelligence to flag innocent patterns of travel. This shifts us from solving crimes to surveilling everyone just in case. Law-abiding people deserve privacy in their daily lives. Being tracked everywhere you drive is not freedom. In a democracy, the government should not watch everyone all the time just in case. That is not safety, that is surveillance. History shows that surveillance tools often expand beyond their original purpose. What starts as location logging can quickly become protest monitoring or tracking people's associations. Thank you for your time.
Who's the next name on the list? Do you mind? Sorry. Let me fix it.
Mitch Brenneman.
Okay. All right.
Good evening. I'm going to switch up the topic a little bit, so bear with me, everyone.
Oh, okay.
My name is Mitch Brenneman. My wife Laura and I live at 519 10th Avenue. We are first-time homeowners who moved to Coralville last fall to be closer to her work as she works at Carver. We're currently expecting our first child next week and are excited to be part of this community for years to come. We recently received notice that our deck is not within code. After speaking with the city, we learned that our deck extends approximately 5 feet beyond the allowable limit. We were advised to reduce the size or file for a variance. Adjusting the deck would require dismantling and rebuilding the entire structure, including the foundational parts. Having already taken out a significant loan to complete the project, this would create a financial hardship for my wife and I. We lived in North Liberty for 10 years, and when we purchased our home in November of 24, we quickly fell in love with the neighborhood. The deck was built to improve the home's curb appeal, provide outdoor gathering space, and allow us to create family memories. Neighbors and community members have been overwhelmingly supportive during and after the completion of the project. Due to this support and the love we have felt amongst our neighbors, we have been exploring options of moving her parents closer to us so we can provide daily support in Coralville. The reason for the move is her mother has recently experienced a traumatic brain injury, and her health is declining, and she will be wheelchair bound within the year. Our deck was designed with family gatherings and accessibility in mind, making it an important part of our long-term plans of caregiving for her. The deck was built without first obtaining a permit due to miscommunication with my father-in-law, our contractor. We take full responsibility for this oversight here and learned a valuable lesson as new homeowners. We will file and respectively request the city to grant a variance to allow us to maintain the current dimensions of our deck. We understand the importance of city codes and process and will be more diligent in the future. Coralville is our forever home, and it means a great deal to us to resolve this matter respectively. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you.
Dan McMahon.
Yeah, for real, congratulations.
All right.
All right,
2 minutes, go.
okay,
All
excellent,
right.
thank you.
Thank you very much. My name's Dan McMahon. I've lived here for a god-awful long time, but that's okay. It's a good community. I was going to ask about the Cubs pitching depth, but instead I'll talk about these cameras. These cameras are nothing more than a tool. And like most tools, it's something you can borrow from your neighbor. North Liberty has them, the university has them, the mall has them. Now, if you're a good neighbor, occasionally they want to borrow a tool from you. So just part of being a part of the community is working with your neighbors. This allows law enforcement to work with their neighbors. I understand the concern about your privacy in this. Other tools that the police can use are your cell phone, your Ring camera. Basically, everything you do now, you are monitored. The goal is, how do you make sure it's not abused? Everyone always has an anecdote about something that goes wrong. Most time, the anecdote seems to be the same one because it happens infrequently. No one is perfect. Errors will be made. How you handle when errors are made is the true test of a policy. I encourage you to move forward with this program. As stated, it's not cutting-edge technology. I do encourage you to make sure you have a well-thought-out policy to protect people's rights. And I hope you guys all have a good day. And I am kind of concerned about the Cubs pitching depth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I can't help you with the Cubs situation.
Jim Beam can. Dennis Hammond? Denise Hammond.
Okay,
Thank you much.
all right, thank you.
I'm Denise Hammond. I've lived in Iowa City for 51 years. I want to share an experience I had on July 2nd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I went to Walgreens to make 6 copies of a photo I needed. So I laid my wallet down, plugged my phone in, printed my 6 pictures, remembered I needed 1 item. So I went down the aisle, got my item, came back to the photo lab, went to pull out my wallet, no wallet. I'm like, okay. So I go to the photo place where I had plugged my phone in, wallet was gone. So I said, I need some help here. The manager came over and said, just call 911. They'll help you. It'll be okay. And I said, no. My driver's license, my debit card, my 3 credit cards, $137 of cash is in there and it's gone. She said, it's okay. So I called 911. The officer came, went, looked at the video, got the guy's picture, the camera on the outside of the building, got the license plate. So I went to the bank, got a new debit card, got a call from the officer that said, where are you? I want to talk to you. I said, I'm at the bank. He said, okay, you wait there. A few minutes he came in. He said, is this your wallet? I go, it sure is. So the money was there, the debit card, my driver's license, everything was there due to the camera that was in Walgreens and the camera on the outside. They got the license plate, so immediately he got my wallet back.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing that. Who's next on the list? Oh, thank you.
That was Denise Clara? Oh,
That's all right.
is it Clara?
Yeah.
That's
That's all right. Hello, my name is Clara Reinen, and I live in Iowa City, but I drive through Coralville frequently on my way to the university's Oakdale campus. I am here today as a concerned community member and librarian who is vehemently opposed to Coralville's contract with Flock, and I'm also disturbed, frankly, by the lack of transparency regarding this process. As a librarian, I adhere to the core values of the American Libraries Association, and the use of Flock cameras is in direct opposition to what I hope are our shared values of equity and a right to privacy. Fundamentally, license plate readers are biased and inequitable. It is well known that the data sets used to train predictive behavioral modeling is full of errors and imbued with our own biases. I wish I could tell you more about the data sets used to train Flock models, but I can't because they're not publicly available. What I do know is that other algorithms used to predict crime are trained on prior policing data. And I hope we can all acknowledge and not ignore the historical racism within policing and can recognize how that effect compounds rapidly. This will only perpetuate existing disparities in communities that are already over-policed. And I want you to seriously consider this question. Are you comfortable with artificial intelligence coming up with sweeping generalizations about you based solely on where you drive, where you're located frequently, who your car is nearby often? And this brings me to my second concern, the blatant violations to privacy these cameras incur. With location tracking, the company has also said that it plans to plug into people lookup sites, which is a transparent attempt to get around our Fourth Amendment rights. And if this isn't enough to convince you of what a horrible decision this contract was, this is my last anecdote and then I'll be done, I want you to consider potential lawsuits. Even on the University of Iowa campus, there is an ongoing lawsuit regarding overly broad trespass warnings. Following an attempted encampment and compliance with dispersal orders, a handful of students and community members, I'm almost done with this anecdote, were served trespass warnings. Some of those who were served warnings were not even in attendance at the encampment and simply answered messages from friends saying that they needed a ride home. All of this was totally legal, and now the university could owe an enormous amount of money due to the ineffectiveness of Flock cameras. And there are dozens of other lawsuits that I would encourage you to look up. Thank you.
All right. Hi.
Hi. Oh, I'm Dr. Emma Denny. I'm a member of the Johnson County Transgender Advisory Committee, though I'm here today in a capacity on my own and do not represent the county. I would urge you to reconsider this contract and deployment of Flock cameras in this city. A sad truth about the world we find ourselves in is you do not make this decision alone. We know that license plate readers are used to target immigrants and migrants in this country. We know that license plate readers have been used to target people from states trying to access abortion. We know that license plate readers have been used to target people trying to access gender-affirming care. Even if you have the best of intentions in deploying those cameras, you have no control over how Flock uses them and who Flock shares that information with. Additionally, none of us have any control over AI pattern tracking that Flock deploys unchecked and without your input. If you agree to this contract, you don't get to do anything about that. You have to ask yourselves what your values really are, and I just don't believe that mass surveillance of your citizens, no matter to what end, fits those principles. We know in Johnson County that Flock cameras have been used to target protesters and people nonviolently and lawfully dissenting against state power and federal government power. And I just don't want to see Coralville be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's
next?
Oh, the next one is in cursive, and I'm young enough that I can't read it. Can you read that? Nope.
Last name was like Seed. S-E-A-D-E.
Dolores.
Cursive writing.
That's why. They probably couldn't read it. Do they teach that? I don't think they teach that.
Hello, I'm Dolores Slade. I live here in Coralville on 13th Avenue, just up the street here. And anyhow, I do support the proposed automated licensing system. And but this has been said before by a number of people here, but personal, I was going to say, all this information is readily available on our cell phones, computers, business documents. Many homes, businesses, and open spaces are now equipped with recording. They're recording this all the time, all over, everywhere. And anyhow, they're equipped with these cameras. Today, I shopped around town. I expect my car was recorded by many homes and many businesses. They already saw me here. I mean, it's already out there. Okay. This is kind of an anecdote. I live on 13th Avenue. And several years ago in my neighborhood at night, a man with a knife entered a home. He raised the family up from their beds and threatened them with that knife. He wanted money. I'm telling you, this is just like 2 blocks from here. Fortunately, the father, a psychiatrist, talked the man out of the house with $6. A Coralville police officer later said to me that the man likely pulled off Interstate 80 and began checking for unlocked doors and found this house. In this instance, the Coralville police had been making licenses, photographing licenses, they could have probably caught him or knew that he was not here and out of town, or found somebody in town. Anyhow, I plan to install a camera in my house for my security. Anyhow, thank you. I do want to say at the end, and I think the Coralville Council, I expect them to be careful about monitoring how this system is used. Thank you.
Thank you. And who's next?
The next name is Rex Brandstetter.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and the City Council. I'm Rex Brandstetter, and I live here in Coralville. Here tonight to support our hardworking and safety-minded Coralville Police Department in their offering to utilize license plate reading cameras at 3 locations here in Coralville. In their daily attempt to keep we, the citizens of Coralville, safe, they need the best equipment and the best technology available. These high-tech cameras are in use across the United States and right here in the immediate area around Coralville as we sit here. By using the cameras that capture a photo of the rear license plate of that is on the official want list locally, statewide, or nationally, our men and women of the Coralville Police Department can attempt to locate that vehicle. Not for speeders, not for a missing taillight, only for, quote, bad guys, so to speak. The bad guys come here or through Coralville with drugs to sell to our local youth, drug pushers, and our citizens. They could also be transporting children from their families by the estranged mother or father, or outright have been kidnapped. The bad guys simply pull into Coralville to gas up, get something to eat, and maybe get a hotel room around back so nobody sees them, and then they leave in the morning. No harm, no foul, because nobody knew they were here. All the while, the people of Coralville are not aware of even who is in our town. This afternoon, I took a pretty popular bus route that I use quite a bit. And as I was sitting there, minding my own business, waiting to get downtown, I noticed up there was a plaque that read something like this. It said, "This vehicle has visual and audio recording that are being recorded right now." So the city of Coralville, we're standing right here, you're videotaping everybody in here. You've got it on our buses. I have cameras at my buildings here in Coralville. We've helped the police find a bank robber and solve a big crash at City Hall, at the fire department. And so I think it's another tool for the citizens of Coralville to know that our police department have these cameras. I fully support this, and I have a petition here for other members. Thank you.
Bring it up.
Sure.
All right. Who's next on the list?
Well, let's see here. There'd be Katie Freeman.
Katie. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you.
All right. Hi, I'm Katie Freeman, and I have lived in Coralville since 2014. Since July 8th of this year, the City Council and the Mayor have heard regularly from Coralville citizens against the city's plan to install automated license plate readers, or ALPR cameras, provided by the company Flock. These citizens have done the kind work of researching the company and the use of their cameras and systems in other parts of the United States. They have continued to share their ever ongoing research with all of you. They have spoken truth to power about all of the marginalized communities, such as our immigrant and trans neighbors that are by far more impacted than others. They have presented statistics and facts and links to news stories, and yet, here we are, still in a contract and no closer to canceling it. One council member has gone as far as to say these residents are stoking unwanted fear, though I am wording this much kinder than he did. Since evidence alone does not seem to be getting through, I wanted to try a different approach, a supply chain control approach. I have years of experience in the government side of the aerospace industry, as well as the heavily regulated medical device industry. My time in those industries was largely spent on mitigating risk. I would perform full risk assessment and analysis on every part of the supply chain. Though every company and industry has their own formula for this type of assessment and analysis, every one of them has one thing in common, and that is the potential impact on the customer. In the case of the ALPRs, there are several customers. There are the Coralville Police Department, others who have access to the data, and then there are the citizens being surveilled by these systems. To do a full assessment, you have to list how each one of these customers groups could be impacted, and then rate the severity and likelihood of that impact. And the impact with the worst severity becomes a key driver, I'm almost done, I swear,
okay.
2
No,
sentences. It becomes a key driver in changes made in order to eliminate that impact. Within the medical device industry, the most severe impact of a device is the potential loss of life. And if the likelihood is anything above zero, that is enough to completely stop a project. So to apply that here for the ALPRs, personally, even if there's a chance of one innocent citizen being unlawfully detained, that would be enough for me to stop the project, especially after reviewing all of the evidence already provided to you by the members of this community. So I urge you to end the contract with Flock, full stop. Wow is right.
Who's next?
Hi guys, how you doing? I've lived here pretty much all my life since I was 3. Oh, sorry, Kathy Sprinkle.
Oh, yeah.
I live on Highland Park Avenue. Used to live in the trailer court. Anyway, I'm here to encourage everyone to vote no to Flock. I'm kind of going at this a little bit differently because everybody's, stating all the evidence and everything. And I just think that as a community of Coralville that cares about its citizens, and this goes deeply to my soul, that we need to think about, like she just said, the one person that gets unlawfully detained loses their job. It would be devastating for someone to be imprisoned and then have the community look at them. The arrest that never comes off their record unless they file a lawsuit and it forces it. And I just think that this community does not need to step into enforcing the police state that our country is going through. I believe that our community should engage in other practices to help people, have empathy, give them the needs that they need met, food, housing, clothing, education, and that helps with crime. We're never going to ever get rid of all crime. There will always be someone doing the wrong thing. But like people said, because of Walgreens camera outside, because of the cameras inside, because of the Flock cameras at Lowe's in Coralville already, because of the cameras at U of I Police Department and North Liberty, We have those already. So I don't know why we have to engage in Coralville becoming part of the police state as well. And I would just like to tell you that I appreciate you all. And I have some tomatoes, if you all would like some. I have way too many. I have some for you, Rex. I have some for you, Dolores. I have some for you, Nita, if you would like any. And have a good evening.
All right.
Kelly, you too.
Thank you. Is there, Kathy, is there another name on the list?
Oh, sorry.
That's
I
okay.
did the same thing everybody else did.
And Hi is on her way. I just got a text from her.
Megan, do you want the list, actually?
Dana,
That might be a good idea. I like that. Thank you. Yeah, we can. Who's that? I can read cursive. I don't want to date myself. Diana.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Okay, I have a soft voice, so I'm trying to get this. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm here to disagree with the idea of the flock cameras. A lot of the things I feel has already been stated, but what I have a lot of questions, and maybe they were discussed at a meeting I was unaware of, but how much control does the council have over the data? Are there policies in place? Do you get to set the rules? And I'm asking that. Does anybody, yes, no, unknown, can you not respond to that? Oh,
No, we'll
okay.
talk about it,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
That's okay.
I mean,
That's a good question.
I feel like there are really, I've done read reporting on it and read some of the things that seem disturbing to me as a person who already feels like my privacy is being invaded every day. I try to maintain as much control as I can, but obviously that is not really, most of it's out of my control. And to have my license plate number scanned and then going where and who gets to see it and do what with it is disturbing to me, and I think it should be a little disturbing. I appreciate law enforcement's and the people who's had good results from cameras making their life better. But I think there are a lot of questions here that have not been answered to my satisfaction, and I really hope there's a deeper examination of the genuine concerns that people have about what this might mean and how it might be abused. And if you're not in control of it, then that makes me even more nervous. So thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Okay. You're next. What's that?
I hear about these crimes, and crime is a tragedy. However, I know through unpopular, non-scaremongering statistics that crime, on average, right now, is down. Third space interaction is critically down. People are full of distrust, and people don't need one more reason not to engage with their communities. We also live in a time of broken promises. We had the data from 23andMe misused, and my mother donated her diaries from her whole life to the Historical Society, only to have them not be able to tell her where they went, and they had to break their promises. How and why should we let AI decide who is driving strange when AI doesn't know how many fingers a human is supposed to have? There will probably be lawsuits if people get pulled over for driving strange, and that's probably not going to be very good for neurodivergent people because they're strange, and you could probably find quite a lawsuit. How normal does someone have to drive? Also, all kinds of slick, high-end gangsters are going to circumvent it because they're going to devote their minds to driving normal. So, sales tax will be down if people don't feel comfortable shopping. Community engagement will be down if people don't feel comfortable driving around. And people generally don't trust the people who are higher up in the government, and they definitely don't trust the people who are higher up in big tech companies.
Thank you. Okay. Luke Ferguson is next.
Hi, I'm Luke Ferguson. I've grown up here, and I just learned about this, so I did some research. And to answer some of the questions, we are always monitored, but that needs a warrant or probable cause to be used in a court of law or to be accessed. So this does not. And if you're wondering who is in charge of this data, let's just take a look. Because my big question would be, is this the right company, whether you're pro or against it? And will they put our citizens first in the safety above their own profits? This is a private company. Will they not put their shareholder value first? And also, this company is valued at over $7.5 billion. How? Well, maybe they are sharing our data. And well, just to be clear on who handles their services, it's Amazon Web Services that holds the data. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure we can all trust them and have them share with who they deem is appropriate, because they definitely put citizens first. And so we're talking about people breaking the law. This company has already notoriously broken the law in multiple states. They operate without permits, and then when told they're operating without permits, they continue to operate while seeking those permits. And they'll just openly break the law to continue to make profit. So, I mean, they've already proven that they're going to put profit over people. They're putting profit over the law, and they're supposed to be a company that is protecting law and order. So I would say with that, how can we really trust them? And then also, we have deputized bounty hunters working as ICE agents now. With a click of a button, you can change the access to anyone with a username and password. You can, you can access the cameras, you can do anything. And so my question would be, how can we ensure that this doesn't hurt our citizens? How can we ensure that this is going to keep our people safe if we don't have control over the data at all? If people all across the country can access it and we don't get a say in whether or not anything happens. And it definitely opens us up to lawsuits. You know, we have Carpenter versus United States in 2018. We have Commonwealth versus McCarthy in 2020. We have Beautiful Struggle versus Baltimore Police Department in 2024. And we have the Norfolk Federal Court ruling of 2025. So I would say we should definitely vote no while we at least put guardrails up or do more research.
Thank you. Now there is one on here that I'm not sure. It looks like it starts with an H, like an H-S-T-E-R? Aster. Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's no problem.
I'm Aster Jacobson. I've lived in Coralville for the last decade. I've won awards for my service to the public library, and I currently work for a tech company which sells software to governments. To answer your question, you can't trust Amazon Web Services. Oh, thank you, sorry. Using the city's proposed ALPR systems, you could tell that about a month ago, I traveled across state lines to go to a clinic that specializes in providing care to queer people. If you looked again, you could tell that 3 days after that, I went to a pharmacy and picked up a prescription. You couldn't tell what that prescription is or why I went to that health clinic, but you could make an educated guess about what I was doing. And if the people who get elected in November and aren't you decide that they don't want to maintain a policy of not prosecuting trans people, then that could put me and my fellow trans people in a pretty bad situation. Flock says a lot of things about how they handle their data. But when you wire $36,000 to a surveillance technology company for expensive cameras, they're not going to let you look at the software running on those cameras. They're not going to let you look at the software running on those servers. You're not going to be able to tell where the cameras are sending data, how that data is being processed, whether that data is actually being deleted. You won't be able to tell if there's a technical issue that means data is being accidentally archived, if it's being archived on purpose, or if it's being shared. The press looks really bad too. Since I last spoke to you about the dangers of ALPRs, 404 Media reported that Customs and Border Control had access to 80,000 Flock cameras through a publicly undisclosed pilot program. The access was removed after a news agency in Colorado asked questions. The Boulder Police Department said that they were unaware that their camera data was being shared with Flock, and that it had been done accidentally through a button press in Flock's portal. Flock makes it very easy for you to share data with people that you don't want to have access to that data. They make it very hard for you to not do that, and they make it impossible for you to verify that data is being sent where you expect it to and not where you don't expect it to. Even if Flock was perfect, even if the Coralville Police Department was perfect, and even if the elected officials here were perfect, and none of them are perfect, this would still be a huge violation of the civil rights of everybody in Coralville and everybody who travels through Coralville. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Oliver Weiline. I represent District C as a city councilor for the city of Iowa City. So I would just, a personal anecdote of mine, because so many people said so many things that I was going to say. A lot of friends in DC federal government, the federal rioting charge, in DC, in the federal government, it's a lot stronger than usual state felony rioting charges. And people in DC were starting to ask questions in like the early 2000s, late 2010s, saying, well, we should not have it be this strict because a lot of times it just gets used inaccurately against protesters and stuff like that. And they said, well, we need it more here because Obama was elected and we don't want marauding gangs of white supremacists to come, and this law will be used against them if they try to hurt Obama. Or, so people are saying it's actually a very good thing that we have these really strict felony rioting charges in DC, and we need to give law enforcement these tools to protect Obama and people of color. In 2016, I went to DC for or 2017 when Donald Trump was elected. I just went to DC to protest Donald Trump's being elected, and I was mass arrested with 250 people protesting Donald Trump, and we were all charged with felony rioting, even though most of us didn't do anything and we were just sitting there. So this just goes to show that tools put in the hands of law enforcement will always backfire, and it will always, if you look at history, it gets used against social movements, it gets used against people of color, it gets used against the most marginalized. So you can go up there and say, we really want to protect our citizens from crime. Ultimately, what every single time ends up happening, it gets used against the most marginalized, it gets used against social movements, it gets used against everything like this. So I would, this also really affects Iowa City constituents. They've all been emailing me more about this, so I would just like to communicate that publicly, that it is a concern for Iowa City residents. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. All right, Hendrik.
Good evening. My name is Hendrik van Pelt, and I wanted to speak about the ALPR policy that was proposed tonight. This policy that you're proposing classifies ALPR data as sensitive intelligence data under Iowa Code Chapter 692. The state of Iowa agrees with you. In March 2024, the Iowa Public Information Board issued a notice confirming that flock ALPR data is in fact intelligence data, as your policy says. The problem is that on May 12th, 2025, you signed a 2-year contract with a company that violates Iowa's laws on intelligence data. That law is crystal clear. Intelligence data cannot be accessed by anyone who is not an employee of a law enforcement agency. Flock Group is a Delaware corporation, not a law enforcement agency. Your policy calls this data confidential and law enforcement sensitive, yet you've now placed it under the exclusive control of a private corporation. It's true that other cities use this system. Many of those cities acted before the Iowa Public Information Board clarified the law. You signed the contract a year later. And while you may use cloud storage for other business, the legislature set very specific security standards specifically for intelligence data. Requirements that Flock does not meet. The law you even cite in your policy makes willfully sharing intelligence data with an unauthorized party, like Flock, a Class D felony. Knowing the Iowa Public Information Board's opinion and adopting it in your policy makes your actions appear willful. And this law is not for hackers. It targets public officials like yourselves and requires that anyone violating it is removed from office. And I understand my 2 minutes are up. I just want to say that you broke the law when you signed this contract in secret, and hiding it is not the solution. It's mitigating the damage that you've already done.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Fennick Coney. I've lived in Coralville for a decade now, and I think that looking at the contract and discussing terms is not what you should be doing. You should be saying straight up no. There is no reason for us to be paying to have our privacy taken away. Using my own pattern recognition program, I've noticed a trend when it comes to people talking here. There's a lot of people in support of the cameras who are either law enforcement or people who only got help from law enforcement because of surveillance. And a lot of the people that are against these cameras are everybody else who would like to maintain their privacy and were capable of reading and or watching information that told them, wow, this company cannot be trusted, this technology cannot be trusted, and we should probably not trust anybody who's in support of it, especially if they're hiding the reasons they're in support of it. I understand that there's a lot of fear nowadays. I also understand there's a lot more fear in this room right now because of this. Personally, I am getting paid less today. And my ankle hurts more because I've been standing in that corner for who knows how long. Because I needed to come here and talk about this because this is obnoxious. And if there's anything I know, it's being obnoxious. Any answer but no to this is going against the will not only of far too many people for you to ignore, but against so many minorities that it will feel targeted if you say yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Guillermo Morales. I was formerly on the Coralville Police Advisory, Community Police Advisory Board. And what we saw over the 2 years that I was on that board is a clear trend in the data that shows that the disparities in interactions with police are only growing when it comes to people of color experiencing those at a higher rate. Royce, you know this. Dolores, you know this. Steve knew this. They were all on the committee. They saw the data. And to say that, to say the things that you've said is heartbreaking because you know people of color are being disproportionately impacted by these types of policies and by interactions with police. I'll also say that one of the other things that the City Council should consider is the fact that the Back the Blue law will now make it difficult to take funding away from police departments once it's already granted that funding, right? So, you know, you may be stuck, and future councils may be stuck with a system that is proven to be detrimental to our community. I live in Iowa City, and I will commit to no longer coming to Coralville unless this is rescinded. Thank you.
Thank you, Guillermo. Okay. Tara, you're up. Oh, no, a knitting. Okay. Tara's here. What are you making?
Oh, it's just a shawl. Okay. My name is Sarah McGovern. I have been asking you for weeks to end this contract. I'm ceding my time to Mike.
Okay, gotcha. We'll start over.
I thought we had 5, and that's what I practiced for.
Oh,
I
sorry.
brought my own timer, so I'm going to do my best.
Okay, yeah.
Hello. That's rude. Please don't interrupt.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
I'm going to start my timer
You
again.
can, yep, start it again. You're good.
Hello, my name is Michael Roberts, and I use the pronouns he and him. I'm a resident of Iowa City that frequently visits the wonderful businesses and parks in Coralville. I'd like to begin by addressing some of the comments made by a member of the council at the end of the previous meeting. They said, a lot of the comments received have been an emotional input. In my opinion, this dismissal of citizens' concerns demonstrates contempt for the very valid issues raised about privacy that were brought to the council in good faith. Additionally, many of the commenters were not male or male-presenting individuals. The criticism that a person is being too emotional is a common tactic used to delegitimize the thoughts and ideas of people that aren't men. To my ear, this comment veers uncomfortably close to this misogynist trope. The council member went on to say that they would prefer to rely on facts and logic, citing the benefits of flock cameras identified by an unnamed family member that's in law enforcement. In courts, hearsay is one of the weakest forms of evidence, doubly so if it comes from an anonymous source. To my ears, this argument sounds like the common meme expression of young folks, "Trust me, bro, I know a guy." It's my opinion, in a process where the chief of police signed a contract for warrantless surveillance with a for-profit company with limited oversight by members of the council, there's been sufficient representation of law enforcement perspectives and insufficient representation of civilian concerns. Frankly, the council's own statement feels more like an appeal to emotion than logic, invoking frightening hypotheticals about the loss of a loved one with dementia, hit-and-run fatalities, and abduction of children. To me, this argument doesn't feel like facts and logic. In their 2002 book, well, I'll just say, in debate, it's widely accepted that think of the children is a type of logical fallacy and appeal to emotion. I'd like to close my remarks with a list of facts, including citations that I'll provide to the council. Flock data is searchable by over 5,000 participating agencies from every U.S. state. Organizations that deploy flock cameras must explicitly specify a list of organizations allowed to search the data collected by the ALPRs they deploy to prevent access from other agencies. The draft policy of Coralville Police Department does not do this. The draft policy does not include any information about the consequences of violating the policy and which institution will ensure compliance with the policy. Police and internal investigations do not have a history of delivering accountability for transgressions of officers. In addition to license plate data, Fox Safety brags that their cameras capture details like a vehicle's make, model, color, and type of plate, damage or alterations to the vehicle fed into a predictive machine learning model that one could reasonably surmise provides a prediction of criminal behavior reminiscent of the dystopian work of fiction, The Minority Report. The existing examples we have of ALPRs in our community used by the UIPD, we know the system has been used to surveil individuals based on their First Amendment protected speech, and in my opinion, selectively target activists for prosecution based on their gender identity. UIPD's transparency portal provides a list of agencies allowed to search the data, which I just dropped. This is the list. In small type, it spans 7 pages. The transparency portal also provides a report that with data on 1 month of queries against the flock database, the maximum number of cameras queried in a single search was 88,000. One single officer executed 83 queries, and the combined total for all cameras searched by all queries is 10 million, over 10 million. UIPD's transparency portal provides reasons for queries executed by law enforcement, including the vague or generic reasons like crim, mish, fight, icy case, accident, or theft/scam. At the time of this meeting, the petition to stop deployment of ALPRs in Coralville has 142 signatures online, plus 50 or so additional physical signatures. An updated list of petition signers will be provided to the council via email after this meeting. I thank the council for hearing what I have to say and listening to other citizens' concerns with open minds. We're still here, and we will continue to show up until we receive meaningful action from the council to protect our civil liberties. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is our last speaker.
Oh.
What's that?
Can I speak too?
Oh, you want, yeah. Yeah, you could.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Hi. My name's Justin Comer. I walked less than a mile to get here from my house. I live nearby. I'm gonna be nice because of what our mayor said at the beginning of this meeting, sort of encouraging us to just have a pleasant spirit of discourse tonight. I've noticed that a couple of attendees of this meeting who are here to support the flock cameras have been speaking under their breath towards each other, shaking their heads dismissively. Every time any public commenter says something like trans or gender affirming care or says their pronouns, and that just seems kind of rude. I don't know. It just kind of violates the spirit of this. We're trying to all be nice to each other tonight, I think. I have some notes here that I'm just going to ignore. Something I've been hearing from a lot of people speaking in support of this is emphasizing how often we are already being tracked. Our phones, private businesses have cameras, and stuff like that. And that to me is not a matter of dismissing concerns. I think that's a serious issue, like how much we've been coerced into trading any aspect of having any privacy for convenience, for security, for safety, for whatever reasons. I guess my point is, if we're already being tracked all the time, everywhere anyway, why are you so eager then to add more? Why is it so important to you? The data's already being collected. Why do we need one more private corporation doing it as well? What's the motive here? How does this help to have yet another? And I've also seen accusations that the opposition arguments towards these flock cameras violate common sense, which I think is kind of a false concept. But common sense. Just try to dismiss all the arguments you've already heard tonight. If you knew that there's a camera on a public street, maybe 10 cameras between where you live and where you go buy lunch, something as simple as that. Tracks are moving every single day. You never commit a single crime. This data can be looked at by a police officer in Kentucky for no apparent reason. Common sense-wise, do you think that is valuable to have your movements every single day accessible by a cop all the way across the country? Common sense.
All right. And I think this will be the last speaker.
Good evening. My name is Dan Cobble, and I had remarks prepared, but my phone died per usual. And I would just like to say that police technology is only as good as the police officers who are using it. And folks have been talking about how all these positive stories that have come from Flock, right? Well, for every positive story, I guarantee there's a negative story. And I will talk about this with one specific example. The person who is listed as a sales reference for the Flock company is a UIPD detective named Ian Mallory. I'm good. Mallory is somebody who's targeted people based on their political identities, their gender identities, and he's just an overall not a good guy. And then I have something else that we would like to read. The law cited in your policy makes willfully sharing intelligence data with an unauthorized party like Flock a Class D felony. Knowing the IPIP's opinion and adopting it in your policy makes your actions appear willful. This law is not for hackers. It targets public officials like yourselves and requires that anyone violating it be removed from office. Beyond this, the vendor is not even registered to do business in Iowa, let alone act as a contractor or installer. Activities that require a license and insurance. Would you hire an unlicensed contractor to work on this building? Finally, the policy creates an accountability illusion. The police and your vendor audit themselves with no external oversight. Worse, it will be used as a legal shield to hide state logs from the public, an established practice across Iowa.
30 seconds.
Okay. You broke the law when you signed a contract in secret. A contract that invites an unlicensed, uninsured contractor to install a system that will further break the law as soon as it's turned on. The appropriate response is not adopting this policy to hide the evidence. It is mitigating damage. Void the contract. And you all have an opportunity to mitigate harm. I really urge you guys to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, and this will be the last one. Yeah.
Do you want me to sign that?
I already wrote your name down. I don't know if I spelled it right, but I wrote it.
It's all good.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, Kathy Jenkins. I've lived in Coralville for about 15 years. I didn't intend to speak tonight, but I just want to kind of give an account of something that happened to my son last year. He lives in Cedar Rapids. He's a civil engineer there. He has a friend here. His best friend lives in North Liberty. They often get together, and in this particular night, my son had come down, parked at his friend's apartment building. They then took his friend's car, went to eat, came back, hung out for a little while, and then my son got in his car and drove back up to Cedar Rapids. About 2 weeks later, his girlfriend's father got a phone call from a policeman. Apparently, there had been a crime in the vicinity, and they saw his car leaving about the time the crime had finished. And he was a suspect. How they traced his car was registered to me in Coralville. The only way they knew where he had gone was through the cameras. I guess North Liberty had recently installed the cameras. Fortunately for him, maybe the crime wasn't that horrible. Might have been like burglary, nothing major. But what if it had been something major? Yeah, my son is white. What if it was committed by a minority and my son was also a minority? You know, anyway, I just urge you to really, really don't do this.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, folks. Let me make sure I've got this shut off. I appreciate everybody taking the time to attend the meeting, share the stories. A lot of good conversation. Appreciate all of you. Okay, let me find my agenda. Okay. So now that we have Hi here, do we need, is it okay, can we just, even though we amended the agenda, can we just jump right to? Okay, cool. All right. Let me get situated here, and then we will get started on this fun conversation. All right. So, lots to talk about, lots to think about here. And I want to just start with a little overview to kind of recap how this conversation has been unfolding over the last several weeks. So, the first thing to note was that the contract, it was part of the budget. It was a line item in the budget, and it was approved along with the budget. The line item in the budget read license plate readers. We had a presentation that by the company, I believe it was, I don't remember which meeting it was I think it was in late June. And that's when, because we had the meeting, there was media coverage at the meeting, and there was a presentation by the company at the meeting. That is what caught the public's attention. And so then we started hearing from folks in the community saying, hold on a second, what is this about? What's going on? And because of the community response, I felt that it was important to pause the implementation of the cameras so that we could spend some time listening, so that we could spend some time gathering more information. I have had a lot of conversations in response to what I have heard from the public. I spent a lot of time on the phone with the ACLU. I've been to community meetings. I've talked to community members as well. I know that my other colleagues up here have also done a lot of that work. I've also spoken with law enforcement and heard from law enforcement on their thoughts as well. So based on those conversations, and again, I want to emphasize that, this has not been a perfect process. I'm not pretending that it has been. But I do hope that it is clear that we are taking the time to listen. It would have been very easy to just say, you know, contract signed, we're just going to go ahead. But I felt it was important. I felt it was important to respond because I do believe that the fear is real, the concern is real, and should not be dismissed, should not be minimized in any way, shape, or form. Because I understand it, I get it. You know, it is a big concern. You know, I'll be honest though, and I'll also say that, you know, I am a little bit conflicted, and I know this may, you know, this is one of those areas where I may not be in agreement with some of the folks in the room, but I do believe that it's important for law enforcement to have tools to solve homicides, to find missing kids. And, you know, I know that those situations are rare, but God forbid if, you know, the one time, and we have heard stories about how these cameras are helpful in those situations, and I don't want to minimize that either, because I get it. I get the concerns. They're valid. I do not disagree. If I disagreed, I wouldn't have stopped the process and started this conversation. So, you know, that's one of the reasons that it's hard, is because I do believe that law enforcement should be able to, you know, solve dangerous crime and dangerous situations. I'm not in favor of uses that, you know, against protesters, you know, all of the other concerns. I believe those are all very valid. But if we're talking about, you know, serious crime, I don't think that that's something that we can dismiss outright. So you know, after all of these conversations that we've had, you know, listening to folks, law enforcement, our chief, all that, I decided that we should bring it to the agenda because, again, I heard feedback from a lot of folks that felt like we didn't have this conversation in the open. And while, you know, we technically did have it like in the budget, I know we had it at a work session, I think what the public wants is to hear us discuss this in full view. So that's why I made those decisions, and that's why we're here tonight. So you know, what I came up with, or the idea that I had, or what I suggested as we have this conversation, is to think about a few different options. You know, we have the first option, the contract is signed, and we can just go ahead, you know, as we were planning to, without implementing any type of draft policy or any type of policy or anything like that. So that would be one option. Another option would be to implement policies that would provide some safeguards, that would try to find ways to lock down any, or lock out any bad actors, and try to maintain the useful law enforcement piece without violating anybody's civil liberties and addressing the concerns that the legitimate concerns that we are hearing from the public. And then the other option would be, you know, to eliminate the contract altogether. Now, that brings me to what we're going to talk about tonight. So, on our agenda, the item states review and discussion of proposed license plate readers policy, okay? So that is what we are going to start with tonight. We're going to hear from folks. I want to hear from different council members, and then we're going to talk about the policy. I'm going to turn the floor over to my colleague, Councilmember Nguyen, because she's been doing a lot of research, and, you know, she's been doing her homework just like all the rest of us have. And she actually had a question about bringing Flock in, because I know she's got a lot of questions that she wants to ask them directly. We had another council member that had expressed interest in hearing from the company. So what we're going to do tonight is discuss the policy, because you know, I heard the feedback at the mic that there's some stuff in it that is not, that might need to be reviewed, and I think that that's fair. And I think that if we're going to adopt any policy about this, then we do need to make sure that we're vetting it, that we're talking about it, that we are revising it, and, I wouldn't want to just adopt that just as is. So we're going to have a conversation about the cameras, and then we're going to talk about the policy. And then at the next meeting, we're going to have the flock folks come and share their information. And, I said earlier, I don't like it when stuff's messy. I like to charge ahead. I like to move fast and move forward and, all of that. But, I think this is a situation where we want to make sure everybody has all of the information that they want and need before we make a final decision. So I did have a concern about that in terms of thinking, I don't want folks to think that we're trying to kick the can. We're taking our time, and we want to make sure that we have all the information in order to make a good decision. So we are going to have them come to the next meeting. That way we can ask questions and have that inform the decision that we make. And I would love to have that done at the next meeting, hopefully. But I think tonight, let's start by talking about, just some thoughts on the cameras, and then we can discuss what we see in the policy. And I would like to invite our chief to come up, if that would be all right. So we can ask the chief questions. This is our Chief Kyle Nicholson. And I just want to also say thank you to Kyle, Thank you to Chief, because he's been doing a lot of work. He's been calling departments. He's called departments where they have had them, but they got rid of them. He's talked to some of these places where there are court cases. He's been communicating with the ACLU. So we have been working on this and taking it very seriously. So he'll be here if we have questions for him. Thank you, Chief, so much. I appreciate all your work. Okay. Let's get into it. Hi, do you want to talk a little bit about some of your thoughts, just as you've been working through this conversation?
Yes. First thing first, I want to thank you, all of you, who have voiced your opinion, concern, whether it's for or against. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate a civic engagement. That's how we keep our community thriving and safe. So thank you. I also want to recognize that we as human beings, we do have different point of view, regards certain thing. When I can't speak for my colleague, when I sit here, I try to make the decision that benefit the majority of Coralville resident. That is my guiding star. That is how I am able to sleep at night. And that will be the way that I have worked and will be the way that I will continue to work. Now, when it comes to this, as the mayor alluded to earlier, it was a budget item. So when we approve the budget, we approve all of that as a whole package. Mind you, all of us are volunteer here. It's not our full-time job, but it is a full-time job for us. So budget is this thick, okay? Beside our full-time job, we try really hard to read through all of that, and we are not expert in any of these things. That's why we have staff. We trust our staff and their expertise to help us navigate and connect and ask questions in order to make an informed decision. So we look through the budget, and really there's nothing alarming. If there's anything alarming, we ask. So it was approved as a line item. And then we have a work session where Chief Nicholson actually, brought this forward because we need to get approval from the DOT. We can't just go ahead and implement the camera. There is also other entity that we have to work with in order to get, if we want to have this type of technology in our community. So there's that. Me, as a minority, I do have concern personally, but again, I have to put that aside. Nothing is perfect. You know, I do share the, I do understand the advantage that this technology have in helping solving crime, but I do also share the concern of the harm that it can cause to a lot of communities. How do we find a balance? And again, contract is already signed. There are a lot of information regarding not just this technology, but Flock itself. I trust our staff. What I don't trust is the system itself. What I don't trust is the company itself. I have questions that, you know, our mayor couldn't answer, our staff couldn't answer. And I am not okay moving forward before I have the question answer. So therefore, I would like to bring back the Flock representative and have them here to be able to answer those questions that none of us could answer, because they are the expert on that. And that also gives the community a chance to ask direct questions where we don't have answer. And from there, it's inform, you know, our decision when it come time that we have to make a decision that affect every single one of our residents, and also the people in the larger Johnson County, and the people who come into Coralville to play, to work as well. So that's where I stand.
Okay.
And I have talked to all my colleagues, you know, some at length and some very short, and because we each have our own personal opinion as well. But collectively, I want us to have constructive conversation. And so here we are. That is where I stand right now. I need more information before I can cast a vote on this.
Yeah.
But I do know that we already signed the contract, and I appreciate you laying out the option that we have.
All right.
Thank you.
What are some other thoughts? Other thoughts from folks?
Oh, may I add one thing, please?
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry. I spoke to my council member, and we would like, again, like Mayor said, we would like to bring this back or have the Flock representative to the next meeting. However, one of the council members have a work obligation that will not be able to be present at our next meeting. And so if it's, you know, sitting here, really, we don't have to ask for permission, but we do have to ask for permission because you all put us here. So what I'm asking is that I'm asking for permission to have this conversation with a Flock representative, not at the next meeting, but a meeting after that. It's still going to be in September, so that all 5 of us can be here.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So yes, I unfortunately have to be out of town for a conference for renewable energy at the next meeting, and will need to be excused. But I would really love to be here when Flock comes. So if we could, if we decide to extend this conversation until we talk to them, I would request very much that we could do it on the 23rd of September instead of the 9th of September. You know, I will say, originally when this discussion started, I was opposed to it. I've had several conversations, and you know, and what I like to do personally is I take and I write down a list of pros and cons, right? And how does it benefit our community? What are the pros? What are the cons? You know, one of the original concerns I had was risk and litigation. You know, I spoke with the chief today about those issues. One of the things that came to my thought process during that conversation was some of the litigation and risks, or some of the litigation on the flock system and other areas were due to excessive police force. Part of me says, do we trust our chief and do we trust our department to act differently? Also, I've personally been involved in situations to where I think this system would have been good for our family. My son's car was stolen from his place of work. It was spotted all over town, Iowa City. 3-4 days later, after it ran out of gas, it was dumped in Riverside, Iowa, and we got a call from the sheriff to come pick it up. My son, was working a minimum wage job and couldn't afford to buy another car, of course. So, those are tough things that happen. In my line of work, I'm concerned about human trafficking. I know that happens a lot, not just, in many aspects.
Royce, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you explain why that is relevant to your job?
So I work as a business representative for the Carpenters Union, and we fight strongly against wage theft and exploiting immigrant workers. And what we found a lot, and I have proof of incidents that people are brought in by coyotes, and their families pretty much pay to send them over here, and they're owned by them. They work for free. They're put in bad living situations. They have no say of where they are. It's half the time they don't even know where they are. They're just traveled across the state, or the country, excuse me. So yes, and I know that, a lot of that goes on in our country. So, one of the benefits to me is, can we track that system? But I am concerned that it is a private company, and I am concerned about risk of litigation. I am concerned about our privacy. Believe it or not, I really hold my privacy dear, and I want to keep it that way. So, having said all that, I really think it's advantageous that we speak to Flock, and I would really love to be there. And continue to give us the information that you have give us, because we take all that to heart. I do, at least. I can't speak for anybody else but myself. But I'm not a hard line one way or the other on this right now. I want to see more data. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah. What are some other thoughts from folks? Who else would like to share and speak? Yeah.
Lori, you want to go?
I will. I appreciate all of you being here and bringing all of this to our attention. I am very strong supporter of our police chief, Nicholson, and the integrity and the safety that we want to maintain here in Coralville. And I do have a question. We were going to talk about the policy.
Yeah, we'll get to that shortly, yes.
Okay.
But if you want to bring it up now, go for it.
Well, my question is that as I understand, I just hear how anybody can get into it and so on. As I understand it, in the police world, there needs to be a specific case number in order
The way we have Flock set up is that you would be required, anybody that wanted to search the system, our officers are required to insert a reason. So whether that be a missing person, a stolen vehicle, a wanted individual, as well as a case number, so that then when we go to audit that system, we're able to pull that and reference it, cross-reference it with our dispatch software to make sure that we're searching for the right things and we're not inappropriately using the system. And that's why the policy's in place to prevent misuse of that system.
So that's one small part of the policy.
Correct.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that's our policy, not necessarily everybody else's policy.
Correct.
Or our proposed policy, I guess.
Yeah, that's in the draft. It's in the, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What else? What are some other thoughts?
You want to go, Mike? I'll go ahead. I appreciate
I mean, any issue can certainly stir up conversations and feelings on both sides of the issue. And discussions and debates are absolutely important. And I do appreciate hearing from both sides of the issue. I do appreciate hearing from actual end users who have actually had personal experience with license plate reader cameras. I do appreciate that. And there's, be real honest, I think there's, there was some speculation and misinformation, I believe, that's also that we've heard from as well, personally. I did write down a few of my thoughts. I'm going to hit most of them. And if I misspeak, Chief, please correct me, okay? Everywhere we go these days, we have the opportunity to be recognized and to be tracked, I guess, if you want to say that. But the license plate cameras are just that. They're license plate readers. They are not facial recognition cameras. The cameras are positioned so that they face vehicles as they travel away from the cameras. So the cameras are looking at the rear of the vehicles, and they can only identify the license plates and some vehicle characteristics. They're not identifying drivers or people in the vehicles. Every place you go, practically today, you're going to encounter facial recognition cameras. Here, you go to McDonald's, you go to almost any office building. Most of us like to eat, so we go to grocery stores. There's cameras in grocery stores and restaurants and bars. Every place we go, there's facial recognition cameras. And we've already heard that those cameras can actually be accessed and be used to identify perpetrators. So these cameras are not facial recognition cameras, and that's a very important point. They are not, and these cameras will only be placed in 3 areas in our community. They are not to be used for mass surveillance, as some people have indicated. The other point is that law enforcement is, in fact, regional. Law enforcement is cooperative. If something would happen in North Liberty and someone would pass through Coralville or Iowa City or Johnson County, that information is shared. Is that correct? It can be. It can be shared. Law enforcement agencies cooperate and they work together if there's a crime or if there's a perpetrator that needs to be found. He's already indicated if a vehicle needs to be identified, that vehicle information has to be uploaded into the Flock system. And if that vehicle is then flagged, then law enforcement is notified. Is that correct?
Yeah, what you're speaking to is a hot list. So if Kyle commits a crime and Lieutenant Merstick enters Kyle's vehicle into the system for a hot list alert, maybe I'm a suspect in a homicide investigation, we'll say, Lieutenant Merstick would receive an alert anytime that my vehicle would bypass or would move in front of a camera. Would say that Kyle's vehicle was at this location at this date at this time. And that's how a hot list would work per se.
All right. So it's not just mass, indiscriminate, disproportionate.
Correct. A hot list is still subject to the reason and the call for service number, just like a search is.
Right.
I can't just go enter Rich's vehicle into a hot list and say, I want to know what time you came to the council meeting tonight.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. So the term tracking, actually, I looked it up. The definition of tracking is the act and the process of actually following someone or something, which means a tracking. You want to track your package coming from Amazon, you can get online and track it. Where is it? What time and when is it? And these cameras are not designed to do that. It's kind of interesting. I had a conversation years ago, or sometime back when when I was with the fire district. I had a neighbor asked me, he contacted me, said, there's talk about unnecessary expenses with the fire district. I said, okay. How do you describe unnecessary? How do you define unnecessary? I said, everything is unnecessary unless it happens to me, unless it happens to you, unless it happens to a family member. Amber alerts are kind of irrelevant unless it happens to your grandchild, you know. And silver alerts are kind of irrelevant unless your grandpa with dementia happens to drive across the state. Everything is unnecessary unless it happens to you, unless your vehicle is stolen. And again, it's already been acknowledged that you know, we can be identified by cell phone use. There's cameras in the highways, and cameras everywhere. Cell phone use, credit card use. There's all kinds of different ways technology can be used. There's technology we don't even know about that can find out information about us. We as a council, I believe, we've got some absolute obligations. We already know that the contract's been signed. It's been executed. We acknowledge that we've already approved funding for the license plate reader cameras. We have an absolute, as a council, we have an absolute obligation to provide for the safety and the benefit of Coralville residents, Coralville businesses, and Coralville visitors. Anybody that passes through this community, we have an obligation for their safety and their protection. And that, in my opinion, means supporting our police department and giving our police department the tools that they need to provide for that safety. We have a fiduciary and fiscal responsibility. If for some reason, whatever reason, if the contract would not be fulfilled, I think it would be a disservice to our fiduciary responsibilities, a disservice to our fiscal responsibilities. It would be a disservice to the safety of our community. It would be a disservice to our police department if we would not fulfill the contract. I don't want to offend anybody, but I also believe very strongly in my support. I'm going to support a policy that is logical and reasonable, that does apply to Coralville and to the Coralville Police Department. Because bottom line is I do support the use of these cameras in our community.
Is that all?
For now.
Okay. So I want to ask the chief a question. We heard this in the public comment as well, and I think it's a question that is worth addressing. So some of the comments that I have heard, you know, from the community, and from folks that might agree that there are legitimate uses for these ALPRs, but are still worried about the privacy aspect of it. And I've heard the question that I would ask is about the other surveillance that exists, and that, you know, a couple of things. First of all, can you talk a little bit about surveillance that we kind of consent to and are kind of aware, or that we know, you know, and some of the that we know is going on. You know, we've talked about the ATMs, the phones, the Ring cameras, all of that. And there is, I think, in some of those, there is some kind of element of consent. You know, when I think about the the ALPRs that are at the mall, there's a sign. There's a sign that says, when you come on this property, we're watching your license plate. So with all of that around, you know, can you talk a little bit about the distinction between the consent piece of that, how that applies to the laws that exist about, because we've heard a lot about that too, and that's another legitimate point, is that there are several court cases. And frankly, I think, you know, if we move forward, there is a very good chance we're going to get sued. I've all but heard it from the ACLU that, you know, we would be facing that. So can you talk about some of those legal distinctions and some of the court cases, and then answer, it's a two-part question, I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit. But can you also talk about the notion that we're being tracked all the time anyway, we don't need these ALPRs?
Absolutely. I think a lot of your legal questions could probably be deferred
More to Kevin.
More to Kevin. But I'll touch on it a little bit. I think that anytime we walk into a grocery store, we consent to being surveilled in a sense, right? Self-checkout at Hy-Vee. There's a camera right there. You can watch yourself scan everything out, right? And I can't tell you how many thefts we've had at Hy-Vee where that camera footage shows someone committing a theft. And it's right there in front of your eyes, and you still do it anyway. I can't wrap my head around how that happens. There's no expectation of privacy as your vehicle is traveling down a public roadway. There's been numerous cases that have supported ALPR camera footage. Flock has provided that to us. I've kind of talked about it in a number of different settings. But again, there's no expectation of privacy to the exterior of your vehicle as it's going down a public roadway. Anything you want to elaborate on there?
Well, the U.S. Supreme Court case in 1983 that says the person traveling in an automobile on a public thoroughfare has no reasonable expectation of privacy in his movement from one place to another. That's still the law. There were some cases that were quoted earlier. The Carpenter case, I think, is a beautiful struggle case. The Carpenter case was a tracking device on a guy for 100 days. There was a beautiful struggle. It was kind of like the satellite stuff in Baltimore that Mr. Stevens, I believe, if I had your name correctly, talked about. That was found to be illegal too. But they were tracking people and on multiple data that they can see them coming and going from their everyday life, homes, places they visit here. So in my opinion, these are different. You're taking a snapshot of where they are at that point. You're not following them and you know, for multiple days at a time doing that. So so it's still the law that, and in Iowa, you are required to have a license plate on the front and back, and you're also required to make sure that you have to make sure that they're visible. So obviously, when you're going down a street, your license plate has to be, the law has to be reasonable, has to be seen, and the Supreme Court has said you don't have any, in the exterior of your car, we're not talking going inside your car or anything, that's a totally different thing, but on the exterior of a car on a public street, there is no expectation of privacy.
And can you repeat what that case?
Knotts versus the United States, 1983. It's a U.S. Supreme Court case.
And that is still in
my opinion, yes. Still the law. There have been some, like I said, the gentleman who quoted the cases, there were some exceptions that had to do with more intense tracking, you know, tracking devices on a car or using their cell data or this kind of satellite thing that followed these people everywhere. So that was not found to be, but there is a Norfolk case that has been mentioned. They have 172 cameras in Norfolk. So
176,
something like that. So I have the lawsuit here. They're arguing the same thing that you know, we've had the discussion about tonight. So so we're having 6 cameras. To me, it's a continuum. If you had, the more cameras you have, the more you're able to track people around the city, the closer you get to a violation. But you have 6 cameras here.
Yeah, 176 camera. I mean, how big is that community?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
It's a big naval base, I know. So.
Yeah.
I just Googled, I entered it, and it said, are license plates protected by the Fourth Amendment? What popped up on Google was, no, license plates are generally not protected by the Fourth Amendment because they are considered to be in plain view in a public space, and therefore there is no reasonable expectation of privacy for them. Consequently, police officers do not need probable cause or a warrant to scan license plates, even with automatic license plate readers, as this is seen as collecting publicly exposed information rather than an unreasonable search. Why license plates aren't protected is because they're in public information. License plates are required by law to be visible to the public. Supreme Court's precedent states that information knowingly exposed to the public is not protected by the Fourth Amendment. Using license plate scanners is considered a more efficient method of collecting public information than an officer could otherwise see with their own eyes, which is not a violation of privacy rights. You know, these cameras, they will offer an extra set of, 3 extra sets of eyes, 6 extra sets of eyes for the police department, 24/7, 365, for a pretty cheap price.
Chief, can you
Can I,
talk? Oh, yeah, go for
follow
it,
up
go
on-
for it.
Kevin was talking about the legality of
Sure.
this process. There was a suggestion tonight that Iowa law might be violated with regards to how the data is being
I would
stored
have
in
to
a
look.
private company. Do you have
I
any
am not
comments on
familiar
that?
with that, so I would have to look into
You-
that.
you what?
I'm not
You-
familiar with what Mr. Van Pelt, I think his name was, questioned, so I will have to look into that. Okay?
And can you talk a little bit about the distinction between the, how the flock cameras are different than all of the other cameras that are all over the place?
Yeah, so Flock's going to provide access to our department in real time to look things up. Councilmember Nguyen and I had a great conversation this morning, and one of her questions was, well, can we do this by hiring more officers instead of going with this system? And unfortunately, I think the answer is no, because we would have to hire, to have 6 officers at 6 intersections in Coralville for 24/7 coverage, to then be able to rack that officer's brain for what time that vehicle went past. There's just not an efficient way to do that. And so this tool makes us more efficient in the work that we do and helps us adequately investigate crimes and know exactly where those things are occurring.
And I do know, and again, I want to make sure, and I don't think this is anybody's intent, I really don't, but I just want to say for my own self, I don't want to minimize the, the fact that it could be useful in a missing persons case, or in a, Royce, what you were talking about is labor trafficking, which is very much a thing that happens. And so I do think that is a valid thing to ask about. But I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? I just totally lost it. I am so fried. I forgot what I was going to ask exactly. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me, because I was going to ask you a question. Yeah.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, go for it.
I did have a question to Kyle today as we were speaking, and he didn't know the answer, so I think it would be one of the good questions that we could ask Flock. Is I read somewhere that you could opt out. You could say, hey, I'm a resident of Coralville, and my license plate number is this, and I do not want you tracking my license, and they can remove that out of the system, or have it flagged to remove your movements out of the system. Now, whether that's true or not, we will not know until we talk to Flock, but.
The Flock representative I spoke with this afternoon says that that's not a possibility.
That's not a possibility, okay.
I remembered where I was going. I remembered, sorry, I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm sorry. But in those types of situations, minutes do matter, correct?
Absolutely.
If there's an abduction, or minutes, like literally minutes.
Seconds matter.
Yeah. So I do, so that would be another thing that would distinguish the ALPRs from any of the other cameras that are around, correct?
Yeah, it takes significant staff hours to respond to a business, request access to their camera footage. If a person that's working is even able to view that footage with us, you look at come and go after hours, there's usually not an employee there that can help us look at camera footage after, overnight hours per se. So if there's a robbery or something that takes place, whereas officers, through the utilization of Flock, are able to do that in real time, even from their computers in their squad car if they needed to.
Okay. Gotcha. What are some other thoughts and questions?
No, go ahead.
My question is, when it comes to consent, so we know that there are camera all over, right? There are camera out at the mall, there are camera in Lowe's, at Hy-Vee, there's a camera in our neighbor's door. So yes, we are being surveilled 24/7. Our phone right here, it's surveilling us every second. But these are an individual choices. If I choose to go to the mall, that's my choice. I consent to being surveilled when I enter the mall, knowing that there's a camera there. That is my individual choice. How, as far as Flock, if we, if an entity installed it on the street, none of us had a choice. That choice is made for all of us. So my question is, when it comes to consent, we lost that. As individual, we lost that. And then also, so we know that Flock is contract with Amazon to store the data. In our contract, the draft that asks for Flock to clear those data after 30 days, right? Let's say they upheld their part of the contract. What do they do then after 30 days? Where's the oversight? How do we know that Flock clear their data? How do we know that it's not being backed up into another server, just in case? Because we all know, we all use technology. We all know that we need to back up our data. Even our photo, we need to back up our data just in case we go to, we use the restroom and the phone drop in the toilet. It's happened. So again, that's why we need the Flock representative here, is that where do they back up data? If so, where? And then after the 30 day, does that data then become Flock private property, or is it still the city of Coralville property? That's my question, and I asked you that, and you have no answer, right? Because you're not an expert. No, that's what I mean, and so that's why it would be helpful to have a Flock representative here.
I agree, and I did speak with Flock today, and they said that it's our data, we own the data, but it automatically deletes after 30 days. I've spoken with other agencies, and they've been unable to access data on day 31 or on day 30 at 24 hours. And so from our conversations with other agencies, that data automatically rolls off. It's not something that we do. It's not something that Flock does, but that's my understanding from speaking with those other agencies. But again, a good question for Flock to answer so you can hear directly from them and not from the chief that heard it from Flock.
No, I really appreciate you reaching out and, finding answer for us, because these are legitimate question, concern. And again, Flock have tell other agency that they have contract with that it is wiped off, right? But we are taking their words for it. And one other thing that I want to point out is that it's a business. It's a business, right? They are selling a product. When we choose to use a product, we vet the products. I guess what I'm alluding to is that I want more vetting of the product. And we can't do that without a representative here. So
the data concern is the biggest one or one of the biggest ones, not the, I don't want to say it's the most important or anything like that, but it's the one that I have been hearing the most about, and that a lot of people are really concerned about. And again, I get it, because the environment that we're in right now, there are, all kinds of abuses that we are seeing happening with tech. We heard a lot of the concerns about AI and things like that. So it is interesting to me to hear that we would own it. We would also have the ability, if we were to look at the policies, to shorten that window would we be able to state that? If we own it, we can maybe close the window a little bit.
You're saying instead of 30-day storage to shorten it to something else?
Yeah, like would we have control over that? If we own it, do we, or like, and we don't,
I think we can set the term of the contract.
Correct.
So that's the
So
term,
we could- yeah.
yes, so that's the term of the contract. So we
Okay.
can go back and we can revise the contract, and we can say, instead of 30-day, how about 3 minutes?
And-
Literally,
yeah.
we can
Yeah.
revise the contract.
And I did just get another email right before the meeting. I haven't had a chance to read through it, but we did hear back from our contact at the ACLU. And one thing, and again, I don't want to lose my train of thought, so I'm going to write this down. The representative from the ACLU, a couple of things he wanted to note. First of all, the ACLU is an organization that works with people across the entire political spectrum. So they work with libertarians, they work with conservatives, they work with all different ideologies, and the chief and I have been emailing this individual, and his name is Pete McRoberts from the ACLU, and he's been very helpful in talking to us about how to move forward in some of the court cases and things like that. But that was one thing that I wanted to note is that he wanted to make it clear that that is not an anti-law enforcement agency. They are concerned about people's civil rights and making sure that people's civil rights are not violated. They work with, he mentioned that there are a lot of conservatives that have concerns about this issue. So that was one thing I did want to note about the ACLU, is that it is not leaning one way or another with a political ideology. But the other thing that he mentioned was the terms of the contract, and did say that if we would be able to go back and revise and say that we own the data, that would be something that would concern them less. And so so Flock said that we can put that in the contract?
Yeah, we own the data. It is our data. It's already in the contract.
Okay, so can we make that? Can we say?
That's what the contract says.
So can we say, no, we don't want you to use it?
Well, part of the system of Flock
I
is
know.
that they use the data for other agencies.
yeah.
But we have the right to shut off people who, we don't have to allow everybody in the whole country to be able to access our data.
Yeah, and that was another thing that.
I think, correct?
Yeah, and that was another thing that the ACLU mentioned too, is that we can limit law enforcement agents or any agency that were to see it.
The policy already states that
Yeah.
we need a written request in order to share the data with any agency. And so the conversations we've had with Director McRoberts is, do we limit that to just the state of Iowa? And then if Chicago has a case that comes here, then they reach out to us directly, and then we figure out how that sharing would go if they have something that would tie into our network. Those are conversations that need to be had.
Yeah. I mean, and that, I want to hear from Mike, and then I want to talk a little bit about the policies, because we have heard some feedback on that, again, from our contact at the ACLU, and some, we heard some here tonight. It's getting late, and we have other things, and I know this is important, but I want to make sure we're keeping the conversation moving along. So Mike, what are some of the thoughts that you have?
Yeah, I'll be quick with the interest of time, and it sounds like this discussion will continue, which I fully support, getting Phlox back here, and kind of wrapping up then. thanks everybody for all the comments on both sides of this issue. Very, very informative, very passionate issue for folks. I want to thank Chief Nicholson. He showed me the system today, and I can see why he's attracted by it. I mean, and thought this would be good for our community. I mean, it's not facial recognition, as I don't think it's preemptively looking for criminals. You have to have a case, and you have to be solving an active case. At the same time, I have serious concerns about our process by which we got here. Putting it in the budget. You know, we vote on some, I would say, pretty trivial stuff. This is not a trivial thing, as we've learned. You know, comes to mind, we have to vote to accept a $100 fine for selling cigarettes to minors. I mean, things like that. I mean, I would like to have thought that this issue would have come before us for discussion prior to signing the contract. So that bothers me quite a bit. And then, of course, timing, which Megan has alluded to. I'm not a deep state, concerned guy in general, but, we're getting to be a deep state right now. We just had somebody from the Federal Reserve. They pulled out data on her from a massive database and have charged her with criminal activity and are asking her to resign. I mean, she is being targeted for political purposes, and I think anybody in this country is susceptible to that, and ICE is the biggest concern. It's my understanding we may control the data, and we may have policies around it, but if you have a subpoena, that trumps anything. They can, if you have, I know you have to go to a court, but our courts are not quite what they used to be, I would argue. You have to go to court and get a subpoena and have a specific case in mind, but I think we're to the point now that we have to be concerned that that'll be abused, especially for our undocumented population and ICE. And that's the timing for that is really terrible in my mind. So those are my biggest concerns. I look forward to further discussion. I'm leaning no, I'll be honest.
Can you talk about the immigration piece, Chief?
Absolutely. As Councilmember Knudsen alluded to, if immigration was to obtain a subpoena, we would be required by court order to comply with that request. Outside of that, our policy states that FLOC will not be used on the sole basis to enforce immigration law. So if ICE is requesting access to our data, it's a no. If they present a subpoena, we're required to do so. If an individual commits a crime and we're using this to locate them, but they're also a subject of ICE, we're using the FLOC data for purposes of the criminal matter, and ICE might be assisting with the deportation after that fact.
Yeah, I mean, that is, such a tricky thing, because again, we've seen they don't, they're not abiding by, they're not allowing people to have due process and things like that.
It's a crime to be undocumented, basically, is what they're saying. Yeah,
exactly. So it is helpful to know that, that it's not, supposed to be used for immigration purposes. We would be able to say that, but I think if we were to move forward with any policy, I think we would need to make, be pretty clear, if we are able to be, about how that could possibly work. So I want to talk a little bit about the draft policy that we have, and then I do want to move to our other agenda items. So we've heard a lot of feedback about some things in the policy that would need to be changed if we go that route. So I think the big question is, how can we not only create a policy about the data and figuring out how we can put some safeguards around there, but also we would need to look at amending the contract as well for that, correct?
The policy is yours to follow. I mean, if you
but I mean, like, I'm talking about both things.
If you want to change, like, I'm just throwing this out. If you want to change from 30 to 15 days, that'd be something we just have to, I don't know why they would care, but that would be something you have to negotiate in the contracts. Right now it says 30.
Yeah, yeah. And that, we do have those recommendations. One of them was about limiting who can utilize, who do we let in, and limiting it only to law enforcement agencies in Iowa. Do you remember some of the other ones, Chief?
They suggested storage for 3 minutes as opposed to 30 days, which we are not in favor of. The investigative look back would be far better. Virginia passed a law that it's 21 days. If we're to shorten from 30 days down to 21, I'm not opposed, but I think the 30 days absolutely helps us. And I am failing to remember what the third thing was.
Yeah, I can't remember.
There was three prongs that they wanted us to.
There were three, and I don't remember what the third one is either, so. But I think that would be something.
Is it something about downloading?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there were, some other, what I would also like to do is take a look at some other communities and how they have approached policies. As, I know that we had received some information about other communities that had specific things like it needs to be a misdemeanor, it needs to be, they had a list. So I don't know if that would be too restrictive.
A topic about the policy briefly. Lexipol is our policy vendor. Lieutenant Mersick's here tonight. He helped draft this policy. This policy is not a cookie cutter policy by any means. It's not one that Lexipol just gave us. This is a policy that was put together by information we received from Lexipol, by information we received from the Cedar Rapids Police Department, the North Liberty Police Department, the University of Iowa Police Department, and then other things that we felt important that applied to Coralville itself when we did put this policy draft together. So it's not something that was just here, let's grab this and push it out real quick. There was definite thought and time put into this, shared with Kevin on some things, and put this package together.
So I also got a question about the intelligence piece of it that could potentially be in conflict with what is in the Iowa code, and is that in conflict?
We're gonna have to look into that.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
I only do.
So that's
civil
something to
misdemeanor
look
stuff.
at.
Yes,
for
I will.
sure.
I will look at it. So.
Okay. So I think anybody else have any thoughts about the policy or things that if we were to go that route, you would want to add or see strengthened or anything like that?
Can I ask about a process of auditing? Because right in here in the contract, it said, the audits for the system should be conducted on a regular basis by agency administrator. That mean us?
That's correct. That would be the command staff within the police department, made up of the lieutenants and myself.
Okay. I guess, is there a guideline for that type of audit? Like, how does it work? Because potentially, if we audit ALPR, it's like me telling myself that, oh, I'm good. I don't need, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of like you auditing yourself. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
I think it's auditing our usage of it.
That's correct.
We don't control or understand necessarily how others might be using it. So
It's auditing our officers to make sure that they're entering a reason
Okay.
that coincides with the case number, that cross references to our dispatch system to make sure that all of that aligns and fits this policy.
But we will carry out the audit.
We will, and I'm not opposed to looking into a third-party vendor to do that for us. When I talked to the assistant chief in Austin, Texas, they had someone else audit the paper trail for them. That's something that we can absolutely look into. I think this is an ever-evolving document, and until we know exactly what that process looks like, if that's something that we're able to do internally, or if it's something that needs to be housed externally, we're open to looking into that.
And we can be transparent about where they're located too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so people can know where they're at.
The cameras themselves?
Yeah.
The deployment plan that we currently have in place is to place 2 cameras near the intersection of First Avenue and Interstate 80, 2 cameras at the intersection of Highway 6 and First Avenue, and 2 cameras at Coral Ridge Avenue and 2nd Street.
Okay. All right.
I also have a question about safeguard regarding the company. So right now, there are only 16 states out of 50 have some sort of policy statewide as far as oversight when it comes to this kind of technology. Iowa is not one of them. So that means that, you know, we really have the freedom to do what we see fit. That scares me. You know, that there are no, I guess there's no check and balance. You know, we need that. We need that in everything. And frankly, our state is not going to care about this right now. Not right now. And I mean, we don't even know if that's going to happen after the midterm. We have no idea, right? So that mean that the vulnerable population who potentially this technology could be used to cause harm, I don't know. There's just no safeguard. That's my concern as well. And not to say that the state that have safeguard in there is perfect. I'm not saying that. But at least there is oversight. You know, as far as the product, the company that is offering this type of services. So it is, again, I want to stress that I trust our staff. I do not trust the company and the process and the product.
Yeah, I mean, I want to make sure that that is clear, that I agree with you. This is not about our department. It's not about our staff. It's you know, we have to make sure we're doing our due diligence, given the environment that we are in right now. And again, it is really difficult. I think it's difficult because I know folks probably, you know, there are maybe some folks that don't agree, but I don't want to undermine the fact that there are some things that this could be really, really beneficial for. I mean, you know, minutes, you say seconds. And I don't think that's something that should be dismissed. You know, solving a homicide, all of the things that we've heard, you know, hit and runs, there's many different types of uses or ways, you know, the finding the person that drove off that had dementia. I mean, we've heard lots of stories like that. So it is really difficult because how can, you know, I know that we want to use it for the right reasons, but how do we safeguard against all of the potential challenges that exist with the technology and the data? Because I do believe that law enforcement should have the tools that they need in order to solve legitimate crimes. I do believe that. So that's one of the reasons I think that this has really, really been difficult. Because I want to make it abundantly clear, I do not want to gaslight anybody about, you know, this is, you know, you're being emotional or yeah, because people are scared, because people are afraid and they have a reason to be afraid. And I think that it's really important that we acknowledge that as well. And that, you know, that is why we want to make sure that we're striking the right balance with this, because I absolutely understand why people are afraid. And I think that is valid. And so I appreciate the conversation. Does anybody else have anything that you would like to add? Yeah.
I think it's important hearing conversations that we make it clear that in this policy, it does say that there's protected characteristics that are impermissible basis for ALPR to be used, and it's a list. a person's race, gender, religion, political affiliation, nationality, ethnicity, sexual orientation, disability. All those things are not allowed.
Yeah.
So we're considering all of this, yes.
One last thing, and
Okay.
this is kind of ironic. Look into it. I suggest you look into it. There's a news story that came out today, breaking news about Flock, that says that the founder of Flock has shut down all pilot programs with Homeland Security, and has made a statement that they do not own the data. The communities that use their system own the data. So you might want to look into that. That's a news story from ABC that just came out like 5 hours ago, so.
Yeah, I
Kind
mean.
of ironic.
Yeah.
And speaking of data, may I just, one
Yep,
last
yep.
thing. Speaking of data, we do not have the capacity to store data. That's why we contract with Amazon. Well, not us, but Flock contract with Amazon, sorry. Clarification, we do not contract with Amazon. Flock contract with Amazon to store data. There are 3 data storage company, major one. Amazon, Google, and I think it's Microsoft.
Apple.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm not sure if there are any oversight in those, for those data storage company.
Okay.
So,
All
there's
right.
that. Thank you.
So, you know, I know this has taken longer than I would want it to take. And again, we do, yeah, we just want to make sure we are making the best decision. And I know it's frustrating. I know that it seems like we're dragging our feet. That is not what we are doing. We just want to make sure that we get a good policy in place if that is something that we decide to do. We want to make sure that we are being very, you know, we are taking this seriously. We are taking it seriously. And again, it's not an easy conversation, but it's an important one. And we'll work on getting Flock here. We'll work on some revisions to the policy. I would hope that we would have all of this resolved by that meeting in September. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate all of you. I know it's been long and winding, challenging, so.
Thank you for your leadership.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Okay, where are we now? All right.
Let's talk about bonds.
Okay. All right, let's talk about bonds, shall we? Okay.
You drew the short
So,
straw tonight, huh?
we have a public hearing on our next agenda item, and this is a bond that will finance the rec center project, and that bond was not to exceed $45 million. So I'm going to open the public hearing on this. Is there anyone that would like to speak to us about the bonds for the rec center? Do we have any written comments?
No written.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Let's consider the resolution.
Resolution taking additional action on proposal to enter into general obligation urban renewal loan agreements. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Any questions or comments? Okay, roll call.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson. Aye. Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next item, we have our Youth Sports Park Project, Part 3. This is another public hearing, and this project consists of 2 separate bid packages that will be let simultaneously. I'm going to open the public hearing on this, and we have our Parks and Rec Director, Sherry Proud, here to answer any questions. Is there anybody that would like to speak to us about this? Do we have any written comments?
No written.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we will consider the resolution.
Resolution approving the plan, specifications, estimate of cost, and form of contract, ordering bids, setting the date for the receiving of bids, and directing posting of all the bid letting, all for the Coralville Youth Sports Park Project Part 3, bid package number 1. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Vogelsang, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Okay, do we have any questions for Sherry? Do you have anything you want to share with us?
Just like I talked about this at our last meeting, but this is our second try at bidding this project, and this time we're doing two separate bids, but simultaneously. Both will come in at the same time. We'll open part one. We'll open part two. We'll be able to see the costs on both of those. Our consultants have been busy refining numbers since my last memo. They have come down a little bit. In their engineer's estimate from 778633 on our first part one to 72326, and from the 825904 for part two to 713534. So those are good. Those numbers are trending, and those are just them doing more research, phone calls, just constantly updating this process for us. So we're looking for a number. A combined number of $1,433,860 or less. We will need it to be over $300,000 less in order to get the alternates that are in the project. And those alternates are the second field, which is the 250-foot multipurpose field, and the batting cage, although we are opening fundraising up for that batting cage and able to add that in that way.
Okay. All right, any questions or comments? All right, can I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Huynh.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson. Aye. Vogelsang.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. All right, we have another public hearing on this item, and I will open that public hearing. This one's for the plan specifications for, et cetera, for bid package 2. Do we have anybody that would like to speak to us about this? And do we have any written comments?
No written.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing and we'll consider that resolution.
Resolution approving the plan, specifications, estimate of costs, and form of contract, ordering bids, setting the date for the receiving of said bids, and directing published notice of the bid letting, all for the Coralville Youth Sports Park Project, Part 3, Bid Package Number 2. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Huynh, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Peterson. Do we have any questions or comments or thoughts? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson. Aye. Vogelsang.
Aye.
Huynh.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next item, we have SJS Golfview Estates. This is for a 44-acre, 4-lot residential development off of First Avenue near East Grantview Drive. And we will start this one off with a report from our Community Development Director.
I would just add that the existing driveway and connection to First Avenue will be abandoned, and McCurry Lane will be a private street and cul-de-sac. That'll be constructed between East Grantview Drives, and a conservation easement is shown on lots 1, 2, and 3, and Outlet A to preserve existing mature trees. City staff has reviewed the plat and finds that it conforms with the preparation, or the requirements for preparation and filing. And the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this request at their July 2nd meeting, and by a vote of 5-0, the commission recommended to approve the plat.
Excellent. All right, could I have the resolution, please?
Resolution approving the final plat for SJS Golfview Estates, Coralville, Iowa. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Peterson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Vogelsang. Any questions or comments? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson. Aye. Vogelsang.
Aye.
Huynh.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next item, Coral Ridge Commerce Park Part 2, Phase 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, and 16. So I'm just going to turn this over to Dave to give an explanation about it.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. The original plat was reviewed and approved in 2024. I should clarify the original preliminary plat. This subdivision is 36.58 acres. The amended preliminary plat will subdivide Phase 8 into lots 8 and 9, and the lots do meet the width to depth ratio requirements and conform with the requirements for preparation and filing. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this request at their August 6th meeting, and by a vote of 7-0, the Commission recommended to amend the preliminary plat for Coral Ridge Commerce Park, Part 2, Phases 8 through 12 and 14 through 16.
All right, thank you for that. Could I have the resolution, please?
Obviously, it was bad luck to put 13 in there, I guess. Resolution approving the amended preliminary plat for Coleridge Commerce Park phases 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, and 16. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Any questions or comments?
Is there going to be a road? I saw a couple of those, I think it's 16 and maybe 15, are kind of behind between the railroad tracks and the other lots. How do you get back to those?
There will be a road.
It's just not on the plot that you
Traversing
have
north
yet.
south, correct?
Okay.
All right.
Is there any short-term plans to use any of these lots?
We do have a proposal under consideration for phase 8.
9?
Yeah, so
For the
it's still,
next one,
it's still at
probably.
staff review.
Okay, good. I assume that was forcing things along or something.
Correct.
Anything else? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next item, Coral Ridge Commerce Park, Part 2, Phase 8. This is a final plat for Lot 8 and 9 in Coral Ridge Commerce Park, Part 2, Phase 8. Lot 8 is .87 acres and Lot 9 is 1.5 acres. Dave, what can you tell us about this?
Just that the lots do meet the width to depth ratio requirements. The plats conform with the requirements for preparation and filing. Lot 8 is a lot that Councilmember Knutson and I just discussed, where we do have a development proposal under consideration. And the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed the request at their August 6th meeting. By a vote of 7-0, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the final plat for Coral Ridge Commerce Park, Part 2, Phase 8.
Okay. All right. Could I have the resolution read, please?
Resolution approving the final plat for Coleridge Commerce Park, Part 2, Phase 8. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Questions? Thoughts? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next item, 404 Second Street, and this is a rezoning that is for the site of the former McGrath car dealership on Second Street. And this is the third reading of this ordinance. Could I have it read, please?
Ordinance number 2025-1013, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 2020-1009 is previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as 404 2nd Street from I-2 Light Industrial District to C2 Arterial Commercial District. This ordinance introduced for third and final consideration by Councilmember Vogelsang, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Knutson. Any questions or discussion?
Just excited to see that it's gonna get something in
Redeveloped?
it.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, can I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Nguyen.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its third and final consideration, all ayes. Next up, we have the Corda addition. I'm just going to turn it over to you, Dave.
This subdivision is 3.27 acres. Lot 1 is 2.09 acres and contains the former McGrath Automotive dealership that will be marketed for use or redevelopment. Lot 2 is 1.18 acres and will contain the future Corda Credit Union. The lots are irregular, however, they do meet the width to depth ratio requirements, and the plats conform with the requirements for preparation and filing. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed the request at their August 6th meeting, and by a vote of 7-0, the Commission recommended to approve the preliminary and final plats for Corda Edition.
All right, thank you. Let's have the first resolution, please.
Resolution approving the preliminary plat for Corda Edition, Coralville, Iowa. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Peterson. Questions?
How many credit union and bank do we need in our town? Just like
It could be another car wash.
I know.
It's not a car wash.
All right. Roll call.
Councilmember Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Nguyen.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. And we have another resolution.
Resolution approving the final plat of Corda Edition, Coralville, Iowa. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Peterson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Questions or discussion? All right, roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next up, Fifth Street Villas. This rezoning and site plan are for a 20-unit townhome development located on a parcel with a former child care center. All right, we have the third reading of this ordinance, so could I have that read, please?
Ordinance number 2025-1011, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 2020-1009 as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as Fifth Street Villas from R2 two-family residential district to RPUD2 residential planned unit development 2 district. This ordinance introduced for third and final consideration by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Questions?
Do we know when demolition?
It started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Demolition started.
I saw it biking here today.
Yeah, yesterday and continued today. And then they'll be waiting until approval of the site plan and then before moving forward with the grading permit and full redevelopment. But I know they're pretty eager to move this along.
All right. Excellent. Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Wait, is that the resolution or is it the
That
third
was,
reading?
that was the ordinance.
That was the ordinance, okay. The ordinance passes its third and final consideration, all ayes. Now let's have the resolution.
Resolution approving the PUD-B site plan for Fifth Street Villas, Coralville, Iowa. This resolution is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Peterson. Questions? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next up, we have another resolution.
Resolution approving the preliminary plat for Fifth Street Villas, Coralville, Iowa. This resolution is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Vogelsang, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Any questions about this? All right, roll call.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. And last but not least, could I have the final resolution read?
Resolution approving the final plat for Fifth Street Villas, Coralville, Iowa. This resolution is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Quinn, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Knutson. Questions?
Have there been any changes since we approved the preliminary plat?
No.
All right, roll call.
Councilmember Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Okay, next we have Magnolia Meadows. And this is the third reading of this ordinance. And this is a rezoning and site plan for 17-acre development, 65 single-family detached and attached residential units. Could I have the ordinance read, please?
Ordinance, yes,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
right. I was
okay.
going to say the wrong thing. now.
Okay.
Ordinance number 2025-1012, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 2020-1009 as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as Magnolia Meadows, from CPUD Commercial Plan Unit 2 Development District to RPUD Residential Plan Unit Development 2 District. This ordinance introduced for third and final consideration by Councilmember Peterson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Questions? All right, roll call.
Councilmember Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its third and final consideration, all ayes. All right, next we have a resolution.
Resolution approving the PUD-B site plan for Magnolia Meadows, Coralville, Iowa. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Questions? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. And can we have the next resolution read, please?
I just lost track. Am I reading the preliminary or the final one now?
You're reading C.
C, okay.
I'm crossing them
C.
off as I go.
That's good. Resolution approving a preliminary plat for Magnolia Meadows, Coralville, Iowa. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Peterson. Any questions? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Vogelsang?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Goodrich?
Aye.
Knutson?
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. And last but not least, the final resolution for this agenda.
Resolution approving the final plat of Magnolia Meadows, Part 1, Coralville, Iowa. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Quinn, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Questions?
These are beautiful homes.
All right,
Looks very nice.
cool. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Peterson?
Aye.
Goodrich?
Aye.
Knutson?
Aye.
Vogelsang?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next up, targeted grazing policy. So apparently we've had a lot of response to the increase in targeted goat grazing requests. And we have heard from some folks, and so we are creating some policies for businesses that provide the service and therefore city staff to follow. So can I have the resolution read?
Resolution approving a targeted goat grazing policy. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Wynn. I have a lot of questions, but.
You get one.
Okay. So, this is in response to just people just want to know that we have some guardrails around it.
Yeah, well,
oh, cool.
Amy will answer some
Okay.
questions.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about goats.
Yeah.
We've had more requests for grazing and grazing invasive species, especially in timbered areas. It's part of timber stand improvement. And we didn't really have a policy, and we thought it was a good idea to have some guardrails for the companies. We have 3 different companies that operate grazing services within Coralville.
Okay. Awesome. Do we have any questions?
I have to admit, when I came in tonight, I was surprised that so many people were interested in goat grazing.
Well, that's not, I wish it was about that.
You'll be surprised, Mike.
That would be a lot easier. Okay. All right. Any questions?
Any impact on, we have plans to put goats in our park, whatever that western park is. Would we be working with these companies to do that as well, or we do that on our own? I can't remember what Sherry thought. What's that?
Cities do both. I mean, it depends on what you do.
So it's to be determined?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some cities, if it's just a targeted short time period, Clyde, for example, has their own herd because they just move it throughout their
Oh, is that right?
corridors.
Huh.
We don't have our own herd.
We do not have our own herd.
I just thought it was cool that we were going to do
Is
it at
it-
that park
is it
someday, but.
True, a neighbor suggested that you don't want goats in a certain area too long because they can damage some of the other.
Yeah, you need to
plantings
kind of
that
move them in
come
an ecological way and
Yeah.
ensure that they don't impact things too much. If they stay
Yeah.
too long, yeah. So,
Okay.
needs to be educated personnel.
I do have a question, Amy. I guess, where did you get the language for the permit, for the policy?
We got the framework from the city of Dubuque. They had a policy in place, so we looked at that. And I met with the city of Iowa City. I don't think they have a formal policy, but they do have some permit requirements. So our animal control staff met with theirs and kind of talked about what had worked for them and you know, where they had some issues.
And you said that these target timber area?
Yes, mostly.
But it's like private, right? It can be, I can contract with the company and have goat raised. How
Sure.
does it work with neighbors? So if my neighbors do not like to see goat, even though it's on my property, they file a complaint, like, is it in the policy? And again, I'm not an
Sure.
expert, so I read through,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to make
So-
sure that we have something in place.
We don't
for that.
require that they must contact their neighbors and let them know, but we say we recommend it.
Okay.
And then we do have some language in there where we could terminate their permit if they were, breaking any of these rules.
And what is the length, like the longest?
The length of time?
Yeah, that the goat herd can graze on a property.
So we don't specify, but it is in their individual, they have to let us know how long they intend to be there as part of their permit. It's better to do smaller areas for less time and really, they call it mass grazing, and then move them as you go. So it depends on the size and, how many goats are in that area.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, I think that's a good point. Shouldn't there be an upper limit?
No,
Do we
it
want them there
depends
for
on-
120 days?
Well, but it depends on how big an area, and they are gonna submit the permit, which you're approving, so.
I mean, you can.
Oh, we still have to approve whatever they're
The next,
saying.
next item is the permit for the specific one.
This is just to give them
Oh.
general rules.
Oh,
So
okay.
you would know, and you could
I thought
question.
this was gonna eventually, so we don't have to approve these every time. No, we
You're
still
not
need
getting
to
out of
approve
that.
them. This is one of those very important things that we do.
Yeah. All right.
Time would be dictated by how much vegetation
Yep.
there is to feed them, so.
And how big an area you're
Yeah.
covering.
How many goats they
Absolutely.
have.
The less land use area, that woods was huge.
But they make some noise, so I don't think I'd want them in my neighbor's backyard for,
Oh, they're cute.
6 months.
That wouldn't bother me.
Take a vacation, huh?
They just
I
cry
went
if
to a
they're
goat
hungry.
parade in York
so-
County. It was
They just cry if they're
amazing.
hungry, so they should, have vegetation to eat, they should be all right.
I think
shouldn't
they're
be
less
hungry.
noisy than dogs.
They're so cute. Anyway. All right.
Moving
Anything
on.
else? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Knudsen.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. All right, and on to our next goat-related agenda item. So this is for Falcon Farm. They'll be responsible for maintaining the 1 acre wooded area in the backyards of 760 and 720 Breakenshire Lane and for taking care of the goats. Could I have the resolution read, please?
Resolution permitting 2 targeted goat grazings at 760 and 720 Breckenshire Lane. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knudsen, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen.
Excuse me, may I interrupt for just 1 second?
Oh,
I am actually the applicant. I'm at 760 Breckenshire.
okay.
I just wanted to note actually that I've been speaking with Thorsten Johnson and also with Amy Foster.
Okay.
I noticed in the resolution itself, it doesn't match up anymore with plans going forward. I wasn't sure where exactly that should be addressed. So the contractor is incorrect, the length of time the goats are being proposed is incorrect
Okay.
as well.
Could you state the, who the contractor is?
Yeah, Go At It is who we are proposing to use going forward after Falcon Farms declined to do the job after I sent them the proposed regulations that the council just voted on.
And the revised time period?
So they're estimating around 2 to 2.5 weeks on site. Falcon Farms was going to do about 50 to 70 goats, and that's why they estimated around 3 to 5 days. Go At It is preparing to, or they are proposing around 20-ish goats, hence the increased amount of dwell time for the goats, just because fewer goats to eat the same amount of vegetation.
So what was in the regulations that,
So it specifically calls out Falcon Farm, it specifically calls out a 5-day period. Both
no,
those
but
items are.
the targeted policy, you said.
Not yet.
Made them.
Well,
Oh,
did they
for
back
Falcon,
off? Yeah.
they, I don't want to speak on their behalf. They were concerned with some of the veterinarian issues that were being brought forward. Falcon Farm said they had an issue with it. I forwarded it to Go At It. I got 2 competing quotes. And Go At It said that they were already most likely in compliance anyway and didn't see any issue with it. So 2 different contractors, 2 different responses to the same regulations. So I think that Amy's had experience with Falcon Farms previously. And so.
Well, and that's one of the things that was the issue, right, was veterinarian.
Care. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not sure, I can't, speak on behalf of that contractor, but I know that their current goat herd is not vaccinated for rabies, and this policy does require that they're vaccinated for rabies. So
Yeah.
that may have been and if they have 70 goats going in, maybe they didn't want to go through that.
I would note that there is no officially approved vaccine for goats. There's a sheep vaccine that is used for goats. But there's not like a specific.
Vets use it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they must find
Yeah,
it
it's like
safe.
it's like an off-book kind of use for it. So, as an aside.
All right. Well.
So what are we approving?
Where are we at with this?
I just,
I read the reso, you guys are.
if this council is considering a resolution for the goat grazing on my property, I'm just hoping that it's aligns with what we're actually proposing to do for it, so it's not a problem for us or for the city moving forward, just trying to clear up that discrepancy.
So go ahead and amend the resolution
Yes.
to include the go at it and the 2 to 2.5 weeks instead of the way the resolution's written.
Yep. you
3 to
bet.
5 days.
All right, so I would entertain a motion to change this to goat at it. And the time frame to 2.5 weeks
Yeah.
and 20 goats.
Yeah.
So move.
All right, moved by Wynn. Did I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have amended this, and now we will consider the resolution.
So the amended resolution, so we're ready for the roll call then.
Oh, we already did.
Vogelsang.
Vogelsang.
Oh, aye.
Yeah, sorry. Wynn?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Goodrich?
Aye.
Knutson?
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Thank you for sticking around.
Yeah,
Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah.
Bad meeting to you.
All right. Next item, carbon reduction program grant. This MOU is for carbon reduction program funding to be used to construct a roundabout at Dubuque Street Northeast, Rustic Ridge Road, and Forever Green Road. Could I have the resolution read, please?
Yes, resolution approving the funding and status update memorandum of understanding between the Metropolitan Planning Organization of Johnson County and the City of Coralville for the Dubuque Street Northeast and Forever Green Roundabout Project. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Vogelsang, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Knutson. Any thoughts on this?
We got an update on this by Scott a couple of meetings back. We need like one more big grant.
Yeah, this is.
Is this going to be it?
No, this is the agreement for the second part we got, right, Scott?
So we already had this kind of in.
Well, we
we
have to
still
put the
need a little
agreement to
more
actually-
funding
yeah.
to actually make it happen. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, we previously received some STBG grant money in 2023, and then we reapplied for more funding this time around. We started off applying for STBG, but this was the first year that the carbon reduction program funding was available, and so we made an application to that grant program and received the $612,000 noted there, but with that additional $612,000, we are roughly at 50% of the construction estimate as far as grant funding goes. But our 28E with Johnson County targeted 80% grant funding for the project. So we either need to review the 28E or continue pursuing additional grant opportunities.
Okay.
All right. Anything?
I have one more question.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I may not have been, but I'm curious, like, how the roundabout, is that they consider that a carbon reduction? Because their vehicle's not sitting?
Yeah, it's not
Because it's
idling.
a constant move?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good argument for people that I always talk to about why we do roundabouts, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now I know.
There you go.
Now you know. Can't have a big impact.
All right. All right.
But we got the grant.
Yes.
Roll call.
Councilmember Wynn?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Goodrich?
Aye.
Knutson?
Aye.
Vogelsang?
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next up, Federal Transportation Alternatives Program grant. This MOU is for the the Federal Transportation Alternatives Program funding to be used to replace the existing Northridge Trail and add a new sidewalk crossing at the Crandick Railroad along the south side of Forever Green Road for fiscal year 2028. Could I have the resolution read, please?
Resolution approving funding and status update memorandum of understanding between the Metropolitan Planning Organization of Johnson County and the City of Coralville for the Northridge Trail Reconstruction Project. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Peterson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich.
Yay.
Questions?
Just excited.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a rough patch of trail right there. It'll be good.
All right, roll call.
Councilmember Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Wynn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. And now we have another resolution, MOU, and this would be used to construct a new trail stretching along the north side of the Iowa River landing between First Avenue and the Iowa River Trail. Could I have that resolution read, please?
Resolution approving a funding and status update memorandum of understanding between the Metropolitan Planning Organization of Johnson County and the City of Coralville for the Iowa River Trail Connection Project. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Quinn. Questions?
This will end or start, however you want to phrase it, between the two underpasses, right? Is that where this will come out?
It starts just north of the tunnel, immediately north of Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's, yeah,
Yeah.
in between.
Yep.
So that intersection I've complained about.
There's 3 tunnels, but.
Well, it'll help with alleviate that concern.
It would, yes.
Yeah, good.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next up, Iowa River Landing District. This license agreement is for 920 East 2nd Avenue, Suite 150 in the Iowa River Landing District. Could I have the resolution, please?
Resolution approving a license agreement with White Pumpkin Studio LLC. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Vogelsang. Any questions or thoughts?
Where's this at exactly?
This is still CLO space.
Oh,
The old, which one?
CLO?
West side of East
Oh,
2nd.
okay, okay. Going there.
Okay. All right, roll call.
Councilmember Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next up, Coralville Recreation and Aquatics Center Project. This resolution of intent starts the process of using a construction manager at risk with a guaranteed maximum price for this project. Could I have the resolution read, please?
Resolution authorizing the notice of intent to enter into a guaranteed maximum price contract pursuant to Chapter 26 of the Code of Iowa for the Coralville Recreation and Aquatics Center Project. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Vogelsang, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Quinn. Any questions?
Yeah, we'll go through this a little bit in the work session, the actual details of it, but it's about a 2-month process, and so we wanted to start that now to get through all of the steps that would be necessary, and then if the vote is successful for the lost, we would be prepared to move forward.
Get the ball rolling. Good.
And
What's the
one
term?
of the advantages of this is that you have a contractor working with your architect. So one of the reasons we really like this, it's a very complicated project, and you don't get to the very end, and then a contractor says, well, I can't do that for that price, you know. I mean, they are interactive as you're going.
What's the term "at-risk" mean in that context?
It means that they give you a guaranteed price, and it's at their risk that they
If they exceed that?
Yeah.
So they can't claim like inflation and then it's gonna be like another million or something?
No.
Okay.
If you change the scope, that's the only way, but if they follow the same scope, no.
Okay.
All right. Excellent. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next up, purchase agreements. We've got a couple of these. The first purchase agreement is for 106 First Avenue. And could I have that resolution, please?
Resolution approving a purchase agreement for 106 First Avenue. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Quinn, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Peterson.
And this would be, I'll just explain both these. This, we will be closing November 1st of this year. This is in a place where the big, huge line that Mid-American that needs to be relocated back by the railroad track will go through there. And the next property, 198 First Street, is, we're not going to close on that until October of '26, because the line can go between the railroad track and the building. So their tenants are in there are going to have till next October to find a new place to go.
All right. Okay. Let's do the roll call.
Councilmember Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. And could we get the next resolution? This one is for wait.
It's 198 for,
Oh,
Second Street.
198, okay. Blech.
Yep.
All right, just read the resolution.
Okay. Resolution approving a purchase agreement for 198 First Street. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Peterson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Wynn. Any questions on that?
So the sale isn't until October
So
26th?
we're approving the
or-
agreement, we'll do a down payment, but we're not going to take possession until October of 26.
Okay.
We don't need
So-
to,
And they give us easements for
yeah.
what we need.
Oh,
for the-
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need an
That-
easement for the Mid-American line, and then if they work on the road in front, they will come through the 106 property to get to their apartments, which already has a curb cut there, so.
So closing's in October or possession is in October?
Well, possession won't be till October of next year, so the tenants can stay in there for another year almost. So, we're giving them a down payment, and then we're paying the rest of it at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, roll call.
Councilmember Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson. Aye. Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. And finally, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I would like to ask council to consider motion to approve the consent calendar as presented A to V.
All right, moved by Wynn, could I get a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Goodrich. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Consent calendar is approved, all ayes. All right, city administrators report.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Okay, I don't have anything.
I got nothing.
Okay. Committee and council members, Mike, do you have anything?
I'm out of gas. Thank
Me
you.
too. How about you, Rit? Okay.
Just one thing. If you have time, please come to 9th Avenue and help Habitat for Humanity build a house.
Yeah,
That's it.
I want to do that. All right, Royce?
Good night.
Fry Fest.
Excellent.
Fry Fest
Fry
this
Fest.
weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Fry Fest.
Friday, Fry
Okay.
Fest.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that is Friday, isn't it?
Yeah, all day long and evening.
Very good band that night, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Peterson, seconded by Goodrich. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're adjourned. Thank you, folks.